The latest flying mishap for Harrison Ford is being investigated by the FAA for landing his plane uncomfortably close to an American Airlines jet packed with passengers.
I didn't know you could fly a plane.
Fly, yes! Land, go!
Morning, George. It is dark and foggy today, but on Monday at noon, it was a sunny Southern California day as Harrison Ford was on final approach to this airport and talking to controllers.
There are a lot of command ships. Keep your distance, though, Chewie, but don't look like you're trying to keep your distance. I don't know. Fly casual.
These pictures taken the morning that sources tell ABC News Harrison Ford was in a close call. The pilot of the single-engine plane acknowledging instructions to land on runway 20 left at John Wayne Airport.
They're not going for it, Chewie.
But his single-engine plane was heading to the parallel taxiway instead, where an American Airlines 737 with more than 100 passengers on board was waiting to cross the runway to take off.
It's like an Imperial cruiser. Our passengers would be hotter than I thought.
Ford reportedly passed right over the top of the jetliner, asking controllers whether that jet was supposed to be below him.
Nice landing.
Thanks.
He landed safely, but landing on a taxiway is a safety violation. The FAA launched an investigation.
Chewie, get us out of here!
It was not the actor's first flying incident.
Yahoo! Look out!
Now, the NTSB is gathering information as well, but the FAA is investigating. That could end with no action, a letter of reprimand, or the possible revocation of his license.
Anything goes.
Right, Hot Wampa, episode 40. What a milestone.
40, life begins at 40, that's what they told us.
Really?
Well.
Did yours?
I don't know. I don't know, really. Yeah, things have been good since I turned 40. I guess I'm 42 this year. When's your birthday, Dave? Is it coming up soon?
23rd of February.
Right.
When I'll be 42. Yeah. I don't know. I think my life began at 16 and ended at about 18, and it's been boring ever since.
Who wants to live forever, eh?
Well, as long as I could stay in that 2-year age gap, I'd be happy with it. Let's get on with a little bit of housekeeping, shall we?
Yeah.
Now, we've recently lost, sadly, Richard Hatch. He passed away from pancreatic cancer. We've been pretty quiet on that. And considering this is quite an intense episode we're doing today with covering Interstellar and Showcase, we can't really, as much as I think we would like to, fit a tribute into Richard in this episode. Doesn't mean that we're not going to, because I know when you put posts up on our Facebook about Richard Hatch passing away, Mark,
yeah,
that it actually got a few sympathetic comments, and, you know, there seems to be a few people that, you know, were genuinely saddened to lose Richard. As they should be.
Indeed, there are people who probably don't normally like the posts, but obviously observe what we write. And there were some sad faces and comments left on our feed, wasn't there? So, yeah, I think it's a good thing to do a tribute in the near future.
Yeah, I've got plans to do a couple. I've got some ideas about how they're going to work. The first one, I'm going to look at Richard's time in the original Battlestar back in the late 70s. And focus on that, possibly even put an episode from that with commentary into the podcast. The second one, I'm going to come forward in time and focus on his part in the reimagined Battlestar and do the same, but with an episode from that. When they'll get released, I don't know, because it depends on time availability and feed space. One thing I've noticed, and I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and I go around the sites online, the same as yourself, Mark, the same as anybody. And there's a serious lack of tribute out there too, Richard. Even the BBC's obituary programme, The Last Word. I download that most weeks because, it's nice to sort of hear about prominent people that have passed away and what they've achieved in their lives and stuff and remember them. And even they didn't focus on Richard Hatch. And yet they've done some really obscure characters and people from history that you wouldn't even think of. So it's been a bit surprising, the lack of, genuine tribute that's out there to Richard. So, yeah, I am. I'm going to record 2 specials focusing on Richard Hatch to pay tribute to him. And like I said, I'm going to concentrate on those 2 different time eras of Richard's career. Like I said, when they get released, they won't be too far in the distant future. But when they get released, I can't put an exact timestamp on, but we will do it. I've said I'll do it now, so we'll do it.
Certainly 2 different characters, very different characters, really, that he played. Yeah,
the original Captain Apollo, and then later on the renegade or the revolutionary leader, Tom Zarek, which is what I've already figured out for the second one when we look at his more modern career in the reimagined Battlestar, which episode I'll use, and that'll be Bastille Day, which is the one that introduced him.
Yeah.
For the first special I'm going to be doing, which will focus on the original 1970s Battlestar, I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's the episode where he crash lands on a backwards planet, and it's kind of like the Old West on this planet, cowboys and stuff. And there's a renegade Cylon on this planet as well that's the local sort of crime lord's got control of, and he's called Red Eye.
Old Red Eye is back.
And it's a bit of a sci-fi western thing. Richard Hatch ends up having a sort of draw with him, a shootout in the middle of the street with his Cylon,
Yeah.
So that's going to be because that was quite a Richard Hatch focused episode, obviously, from the original series. So that'll be the episode when I do those tribute specials that I do commentary on for that one. So that's coming up.
Yeah, I look forward to that. I mean, the thing is with the Richard Hatch Battlestar Galactica from the late 70s, you had Dirk Benedict, who was kind of like the smiley, handsome rogue guy, whereas Captain Apollo was a bit more serious because of his father's position, I guess, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think he was perhaps a bit more sort of morally clean as well, personally,
Yeah.
Whereas Starbuck liked his cigars and whatever woman he could get his hands on. I think Apollo would happily have lived through life to a certain standard and waited for the right lady to come along kind of thing,
Yeah.
So I think perhaps Apollo was a bit more moralistic, as it were. But, yeah, I'm sure that's all stuff that I'll discuss and go through when I do those tributes. So you have got that to come. We're just not in a position to inform you exactly when they will be released. Also, you're looking to get a possible interview, aren't you, Mark?
Yeah, I am. There's a young lady who works at a comic book shop, and she's going to be talking about the success that she found on YouTube, and how it helped promote a comic shop that was sort of not going downhill, but it wasn't as successful as she wanted it to be. And I guess it's a lesson to us and other podcasters that there are other mediums and ways to reach people. And I think she was just doing like 1-minute clips about the latest comic books that were released in her shop, and she did get a bit of fame online from that. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to interviewing her in the near future.
Yeah, that's Miss Lucy Meyer, and she's owner of the Level Up comic store in Liverpool. She's got her own YouTube channel, which you can check out for yourselves, which is called Torafina, and she is also part of a video podcast which she co-hosts with a couple of other ladies, which is called the Gamma Dames Video Podcast. So there's plenty for us to talk to her about there. I think that's going to be in your court, Mark, because I've got these other specials to look at getting done, really.
Yeah, we'll go our own separate ways. I think Dave's going to the Dagobah system. I'll bugger off to Bespin for a bit and try to get some interviews, and then we'll meet somewhere later on.
Yeah, when I've got my hand cut off and hanging upside down underneath Cloud City. So yeah, they'll be kind of like our own little projects, but they'll both be released under the Hot Wampa banner, as it were. So you don't have to look around different podcast feeds. They'll all be coming to you in your Hot Wampa feed if you're a subscriber. Speaking of subscribers, we've had another iTunes review.
Really? Oh, great.
This one's from Mr. Stephen Martin. It is dated the 5th of February 2017. I think we just missed it on our last recording session to give him a shout out, to be honest. But Stephen's written in iTunes, great podcast, well worth a listen. Great way to review your old favourite films and give them a rewatch or find a film you've never watched. Very funny. Also, get involved with them. Send in your own review. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen.
I think he's given us 5 stars as well. It's nice to get that because there is a lot of work that goes into the show, and I think people kind of click, take, enjoy it, wait for the next one. And so to get that little bit of feedback in terms of an iTunes review, I mean, I don't think either you and me are glory hogs. We're not looking for people to say, "Oh, you're wonderful, you're fantastic, you're brilliant. Can I have your children, etc., etc." Because I think we're all a bit, well, you know what I mean. We're a bit more honest and humble ourselves. But the thing is, little things like those iTunes reviews, people read them and think, I don't know, these fellas might be quite good going on what I've read so far. I'll give them a chance. Same with sharing episodes, liking episodes, commenting on episodes, even if it's constructive criticism of something we've done. It all helps to get us noticed. And that is, in a way, the only thanks we really want for putting the show out there. So, you know, thanks, Stephen. That means a lot to us. And,
it does, yeah. And I mean, Dave, with our episodes, you don't have to go through them like a box set like you would do your favourite series, do you? I mean,
you'd have to binge listen to us, no.
No, and as Stephen rightly said, pick out a movie that you like from the past, or we've done quite a few reasonably modern films recently, and just have a listen. You might pick up some facts that you didn't know. You might be able to correct us on things that we thought were true but maybe aren't, and, you know, get involved in that way, really. So
this is it. I mean, because we talk about so much of film history, and like you say, there's stuff, and today we'll be focusing on a more recent film, but we've done films that go back to the 60s and 70s as well. Have a scroll through. I'm sure people can find something that they like. We've done enough of them. And, you know, take a listen. You don't have to listen to every single thing we've done or every single special or anything like that. Have a scroll through and cherry pick your favourites. And if we've said something objectionable or you think is wrong, if we've said something you strongly agree with, then let us know about it. You know, to a degree, they're legacy episodes. They kind of stand because they're all looking back on these things. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the news that we feature, the local news and the Star Wars news, is always relevant to that time. But I think that's kind of fun as well, in that you can see where franchises like Star Wars have moved on and go back to listen to what we said at the time and see how right or wrong we are. It's a bit of a competition. Speaking of that, I think seeing as we're on the topic of Star Wars news, we might as well get on with some. This is from IO9 Gizmodo website, which is a bit of a mouthful.
It is. You wouldn't even know how to put it into Google, I don't think.
No, I wouldn't be able to spell it. It goes to show you the lengths we go to pick up articles, though, doesn't it?
It does.
It's dated the 14th of February 2017, so Valentine's Day, and via their correspondent Catherine Trender-Costa. There's a new actor playing R2-D2 in Star Wars The Last Jedi. After the passing of Kenny Baker last year, you'd be forgiven for assuming that Lucasfilm and Disney would go the all-robot, or part robot, part CGI route for the rest of R2-D2's movies appearances. Instead, the role has gone to Jimmy Vee. It is legitimately surprising and weirdly impractical that there's still going to be an actual person inside the astromech droid. As it is, Rogue One's K2SO was created with computers, and The Force Awakens built themselves a BB-8. But it's also pretty cool that Star Wars wants to keep a real actor playing R2, even if remote control or CG would probably be easier. In a statement, Vee said, "It's been an absolute pleasure to have worked alongside the legendary Kenny Baker. Kenny was a fantastic actor and taught me all the tricks on how he brought R2-D2 to life, which I will continue to portray in his honour. I'm so excited to be a part of the Star Wars universe and can't wait for everyone to see what we've been working so hard on for the last year." Well, the rest of us can't wait either. Get us a trailer out.
Yeah, get us a trailer, definitely.
He'll be, well, not seen exactly, but you know what we mean when The Last Jedi comes out in December. Now then, do you know anything about Jimmy Vee, Mark?
I don't know anything about him, to be honest, Dave. He sounds familiar. Should he sound familiar?
Possibly. I think you've possibly, subconsciously even seen his name scroll by on a credits list before, mate. He was born on the 5th of November 1959, and he's a Scottish actor and a stunt performer. Best known for playing a number of Doctor Who monsters and aliens. Vee started his career as a stunt double performer for various small actors and extras in films such as Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Vee also starred as Cheeky the Dwarf in the King's Theatre Glasgow adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was November when he was cast as R2-D2 in Star Wars The Last Jedi, succeeding Kenny Baker before Baker's death in August 2016, November 2015. I should just go back and correct myself there. He identifies as a dwarf standing 1.12 metres or 3 foot 8 inches tall, the same height as Kenny Baker, who originally played R2-D2. Mm-hmm. The best fact about him I found was this, and that's that in the 2015 movie Pan, he played a character called Lofty. I think that's trying to be ironic at all.
Yeah.
Sounds like they've got a carbon copy for Kenny Baker, though. I mean, the guy even looks like him to a degree. You know, I don't just mean his height, obviously, which is the same height as Kenny, and his build's kind of the same as Kenny. But if you look at him in the face, he actually looks a lot like Kenny Baker in the face too. It sounds like they've almost got like a custom a bespoke, perfectly built replacement for Kenny Baker. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes if he can get the same character into the tin can as Kenny Baker did.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like a guy who, who's paid tribute to Kenny Baker, who's obviously a hero of his own, so he's going to hopefully do a good job and, get into the old tin can, as you put it, and, portray R2-D2 to his finest degree. I did enjoy seeing it at the BAFTAs last Sunday. When I had that scroll of people that we lost, and Kenny Baker was among those people, so that was nice that he was recognised up there. Obviously 2016 we lost so many names, didn't we? So
yeah, I mean, and that's quite I bet that was quite a scroll.
It was, yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure 2017's getting off to a better start with John Hurt and Richard Hatch. And, it's not something perhaps that affects us so much, but Tara Palmer Tompkinson's passed away. I mean, they're starting to rack up early this year, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Yeah. What? Okay. I mean, the thing is, I just, so long as he can get the character into R2-D2, I think in the way that Kenny Baker did, because I always got the feeling with Kenny Baker when he was in the desert and, hiding away from the sand people, the Jawas in a sort of cave, or when he was on Dagobah shaking from side to side and beeping away as the X-Wing got lifted out of the swamp and all the rest of it. I think Kenny Baker was successful in actually getting a degree of character into R2-D2. And let's hope this guy can, he's got the same attributes. He can do something similar with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of my favourite R2-D2 moments is in Empire Strikes Back, when he's trying to unlock the doors. And that's brilliant, I think. And I really could see Kenny Baker's performance come through there, a little bit of an argument with C-3PO and, trying to get the doors unlocked before the stormtroopers arrive. It was great.
Yeah, that's the thing. You really do need somebody who's got a gift or an aptitude to sort of get a little bit of character out of something that really is quite an inanimate object to a degree in terms of character. I mean, it doesn't have an expression. Okay, it can portray different digital tones, but, Kenny Baker was capable of getting something out of it. He could shake it from side to side, spin the head round, subtle movements of it. It really did feel like he was communicating through the tin can, so to speak. So obviously we wish Jimmy Vee well in that role, and we'll be looking to see what he does in December when The Last Jedi comes out.
Yeah.
Also, on a Star Wars front, this one's from a slightly more mainstream news organisation, although, to be honest, this story was on just about every news organisation. It's no surprise what's coming here, because we've made a bit of a joke out of it in the intro for this episode. This is from NBCnews.com, dated 14th of February, again Valentine's Day. From their correspondents Costello and Mary Emily O'Hara. Harrison Ford in incident with passenger plane at California airport. Actor Harrison Ford was involved in a potentially serious incident Monday in California as he was piloting his private plane, a single-engine Husky, NBC News has learned. Ford, an experienced pilot who collects vintage planes, we think he trashes a few as well, don't he?
The ones he's not too bothered about, yeah.
Yeah, who cares? Had been instructed to land on runway 20 left at John Wayne Airport in Orange County. I don't know. It sounds like a bit of a cowboy place to me, but there you go.
To hell it is.
California, but mistakenly aimed for a taxiway instead. His plane passed over the top of an American Airlines 737 carrying 110 passengers and a 6-person crew. The passenger plane, I guess that's American Airlines, flight 1456, managed to depart safely for Dallas just minutes after the incident. Ford 74 was heard on air traffic control recordings asking, was that airliner meant to be underneath me? Air traffic controllers then informed Ford that he had landed on a taxiway rather than the runway, a violation of Federal Aviation Administration safety rules. The FAA told NBC News that controllers gave Ford the proper landing instructions and that he read them back. The incident has prompted an FAA investigation, which could result in a simple warning letter to a suspension of Ford's pilot's license.
That'd be a disaster, wouldn't it, for him?
How's he going to fly the Falcon?
I know.
Well, I suppose he hasn't got to worry about that anymore, has he, since his old boy lightsabered him.
Yeah.
Ford has been involved in a series of crashes and near crashes while flying aircraft. In 2015, he crash-landed a World War II era airplane on a Santa Monica, California golf course after the engine failed. And to quote Lando, they told me they'd fixed it. He also crash-landed a helicopter in 1999 during a flight lesson in Ventura County, California. And in 2000, Ford's 6-seater Beechcraft Bonanza scraped the runway during an emergency landing at Nebraska's Lincoln Municipal Airport. But Ford is revered as an excellent pilot in aviation circles. I'd hate to hear what they revere as a bad one. He has been inducted by the Kiddle Hawk Air Academy as a living legend of aviation. Well, it's probably surprised he survived all this.
Well, yeah. To be a legend.
Yeah. Jesus, he'd have his licence revoked ages ago in this country. A witness to Ford's 2015 Santa Monica crash told NBC News that Ford saved several lives by rerouting his crash landing to the Penmar golf course to avoid a tract of suburban homes. Well, fair enough. NBC News asked Ford's representatives for comment, but didn't immediately get a formal response. Is Harrison Ford getting a little bit too old for this? Should somebody be taking the keys off him now?
Well, that's the first thing I thought of. I mean, I'm not saying he's a grand old age. People live longer these days, of course. But I just think, so many incidents. Is it time, like you said, that he should strap himself into a flight simulator at home and just enjoy free monitors of A320 Airbus or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. A bit of Microsoft Flight Simulator or something. Yeah, I mean, obviously some of these weren't his fault. I mean, if he had an engine failure or so, I guess it's a mechanical. On the one that the golf course one, I guess that's something he can't help. On the helicopter flight, he was under instruction. I don't know. I suppose you've got to give and take to a degree, but I mean, landing on a taxiway does sound a bit of a gaff, doesn't it?
It does, and we've seen air disasters of one plane landed on top of another, haven't we?
I mean, he's got a 10,000-foot runway in front of him, clearly marked out, and he decides to land on the slip road, effectively.
These Hollywood stars, they just do what they want, don't they?
Yeah. Why should I go up to the end there and turn off when I can just come down here anyway? Who cares? I like that photograph that I think you sent it my way. Yeah. It shows you the Millennium Falcon sitting on an airport taxiway, doesn't it, with all airliners and stuff in the background.
That's it, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I think he'll go back to flying again. I think he's probably a bit more embarrassed than anything. I wonder how long it'll be before we get another incident, eh?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, it's something he loves to do, isn't it? And I don't know how many planes he's got.
I don't know how many he's gone through. It's like the General Lee with him, isn't it? I mean, he must write off several.
Yeah. Or Kit in Knight Rider. Yeah, every week it's just another one.
Yeah, I think you should let Chewie do all the flying from now on.
Have you got any other Star Wars news, Dave?
I haven't got anything, mate.
Well, I've got a few that we kind of put up on the Facebook page, but BBC Three's Fleabag, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, has been cast in a as yet unnamed CGI role for the new Han Solo standalone movie. I don't know if you've seen Fleabag. It was six episodes on the.
I briefly saw some of one when she walked into a hallway in a house and ended up in bed with some geezer.
Yeah.
That's all I've seen of it.
And she is a very funny woman, and the actual series itself is, as you say, a bit risque. There's some dodgy scenes, it's for adult viewers probably, but it does look like sort of modern, I don't know, Sex in London City in the 21st century. It's kind of like that, really. But, I watched them all and I really enjoyed them. So I'll be interested to see what she could bring to the Han Solo film.
Did she have some sort of rivalry with her sister in the series or something?
Yeah, that's right.
Remembered watching something like that.
Yeah, her sister's sort of successful, married to a rich guy, whereas the character herself is sort of living in a bed sit, sort of trying to find her way in life, but a bit down on her luck. So, but there's a lot of comedy in that. Yeah, the Han Solo new film is released 25th of May 2018, so we've got quite a long way yet. And also it's confirmed this week that Tandy Newton has also been added as production gains momentum. I mean, Tandy Newton, I mean, she was in Mission Impossible 2. I don't know if you saw that one.
No.
I mean, it's the John Woo directed one, which was a pretty flat film. But she was fine in it, and I guess she was in her mid to late 20s when she was in that. And it was one of those roles where you thought, well, you know, she's the damsel in distress. Will she go on to do anything else? And thankfully, because of Westworld, where she puts in some fine performances, she's sort of still keeping her afloat and finding regular work. And I mean, for a woman in I think mid 40s, you know, in Hollywood, it's not so easy, is it, these days?
Oh, well, that'd be interesting then to see what sort of character she portrays and what she brings. I mean, you've mentioned the release date there in May 2018. It's a long way off for us now. I mean, it's well over a year. But from episode 8 to that, which will be December this year, I mean, you're looking at a half a year gap, and then you'll have a half a year on the back of that to, I guess, the next Star Wars. Well, no, you wouldn't, because that's every 2 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we might have quite a gap there between that and episode 9.
But I think this year is the first year that Disney and Marvel have had. They've got 3 films out this year, Disney, Marvel. So maybe they're trying to do the same thing with the Star Wars films. You know, gaining a bit of momentum to have like 2 or 3 a year, every year. Which, you know, as fans, we're not going to shun, are we? So
no, it's a tall order to maintain that quality, though, isn't it?
That is, yeah. But with the source material, and as we've talked about recently, canon and non-canon are sort of coming together more these days, and you know, fans are quite happy about that, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, so long as they make a consistent effort to keep that quality there, and we don't feel like we're just getting movies that are effectively filler. I mean, I think the concept of the standalone movies is a good thing because it gives us a chance to have those little adventures with characters, you know, those curious moments that we'd always wondered about, and for a chance for those sort of characters from the expanded universe to come into play a little bit, like we saw with Saw Gerrera and so on. So I think that's actually a very good and very healthy thing. And I mean, it's, you know, we can't dispute that Gareth Edwards did a good job with Rogue One. I mean, it's received a lot of praise. So long as they can keep that kind of level, that standard of quality. I mean, I'm still thinking, looking back, I still enjoyed Rogue One more than The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that on DVD again or Blu-ray, having a look at it again.
I guess, when's that going to be coming out? Would it be April time or something like that?
Yeah, I guess Easter probably is a good shout, isn't it? We've got the Star Wars Celebration Orlando, which is April the 13th till the 16th. So perhaps they'll be looking, you know, to get it out around that time. You know, just maybe in America it'll come out a week or 2 early. You know, something like that. Hopefully that'll be the time for the trailer as well for episode 8, Dave. You know, over the Celebration Orlando.
Well, we're starting to get a bit of a sniff of that now. There's a image that's come out recently, and I think it's basically a cropped caption. Someone's taken a photograph of some upcoming episode 8 merchandise. I don't know what's in this box. It's just basically it's a picture of the box with like a transparent front on it. So it could be, I don't know, a vehicle or action figures. I'm not sure what the merchandise that's intended for this box is, but I've seen a photograph of this box. It doesn't look fake to me.
No,
it looks the part, and it's kind of almost like the box itself, the background. If you imagine like a red and white sort of zebra pattern, not well, zebra pattern is black and white, obviously, but it's kind of that pattern, but in red and white, and it's got a picture of Finn on it, looking sideways, looking very much like he does in The Force Awakens. He's still got Poe Dameron's jacket. It's got a picture of Poe Dameron on it, looking the opposite direction, sort of back to back with Finn in his X-Wing flight suit and his helmet and all the rest of it. And in the middle, sandwiched between the two, sort of looking directly at you as you're looking at the box, they've got Rey there, holding the lightsaber up. And her look is somewhat different to Daisy Ridley's look in episode 7. It looks very much like they've sort of let her hair down and straightened it out. And obviously she's a year or 2 older as well, which is noticeable on a younger person like that. Yeah, quite a different look. So I think this stuff is starting to trickle out now. So I can't think there's not going to be too long before they hit us with a trailer. If they're going to start getting
Sorry, Dave. She's got the lightsaber sort of to the side, hasn't she? Is that?
Have you seen it as well?
Yeah, I've got it on the screen now, and is it Luke's lightsaber that she's trying to give to him at the end of The Force Awakens?
I'm not 100% sure if it is, or whether it's one she's built herself as a Jedi student. There was a deleted scene from Return of the Jedi. If you go onto YouTube, you can look it up the same as anyone. You actually get to see Luke sat in Ben's old hovel on Tatooine with like a kiln or a furnace or whatever you want to call it, like a little sort of terracotta clay stove type thing.
Like a tandoori oven?
Yeah, sort of thing you'd put a few naans in to cook in the desert. You've got the idea.
Yeah, I got it, yeah.
Yeah, and he's putting a diamond or a gem or a jewel or a facet of some sort in there, and I don't know, I guess just heating it up, temper it, whatever it does. Takes it out and actually puts it into the new lightsaber he constructs, the green bladed lightsaber that he uses in Return of the Jedi. So I think there is this premise that Jedi students actually construct their own lightsaber. So whether that's Luke's lightsaber you see her wielding, or whether it's one she's built herself. I mean, would Luke still have his green lightsaber that he constructed himself from Return of the Jedi?
Who knows? I mean, what's he been up to? You know, that's the thing. Has he got another one? You know, we don't know, do we? I'd hope he's still got the green one for nostalgia's sake, but
we see the scene in Return of the Jedi. You've failed, Your Highness, and he throws it to one side. I'm a Jedi, like my father before me. Well, did he have time with all that? You know, like an idiot when he should have chopped the Emperor down. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Did he have time in all that kerfuffle of his old man chucking the Emperor down that tube and the Force lightning, and then the, you know, Wedge and Lando managing to blow the Death Star, and he, you know, the alarm's going off, he's got to get out and he's got to drag the old man out in all his armour and all. I'd have left him there personally, but I'd have kicked him down the shaft after the Emperor. To actually think, oh, hang on a minute, I've just got to go back and pick his lightsaber up.
Well, with his Force powers, he could have just grabbed it from the opposite side of the room anyway, couldn't he?
Called it towards him.
Yeah,
that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
I don't know. I've just downloaded the Force Unleashed again on the Xbox One. It's one of the free games this month. Obviously, it's the Xbox 360 version, but that was a good game. I remember as Darth Vader's secret apprentice. So I'm looking forward to playing that. Yeah, I look forward to going through that again.
Voiced by Sam Witwer, who also played Crashdown in the reimagined Battlestar Galactica.
There you go. He's like an encyclopedia, this bloke.
Yeah, and he also voiced Darth Maul, and in the Mortis trilogy, one of the characters in that in the Clone Wars and in Star Wars Rebels.
Was he at the celebration last year in London?
And I don't know if he was. I think he possibly was 2007, although I stand to be corrected on that. I don't think at the time he was that active in Star Wars voice work. Obviously later on with LucasArts in The Force Unleashed, and also with the Clone Wars and Rebels, he became very active in it. I'm not sure he was at the time. He was still kind of off the back of Battlestar at that time.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing something down there with his face on. Now, whether he was in a panel or anything like that, I honestly can't remember. I'm sure somebody perhaps out there could do and could inform us. He's also in that Stephen King thing. Is it Stephen King that you lent us, The Mist?
Oh, the Mist, yeah, that's right. With
He's the army soldier that they sort of, you know, throw to the wolves, kick him outside, that sort of religious group that grows up around that nutty woman.
Yeah, that's right.
They get that army deserter guy, the survivor, because his two mates hang themselves, but that army deserter guy, they kind of throw him out the door to whatever's out there. That's Sam Witwer. It's the same guy. So he's been around in a few things.
Yeah, I like him actually. I liked him in that. Yeah, and I liked him in what I've heard of him, in the Star Wars Force Unleashed. But as you said, Rebels, you know, and Star Wars Lego, The Force Awakens, he was in that as well. Star Wars Battlefront. So you know, Being Human, I think that was the reimagined one after the British TV series. So yeah, he's done a hell of a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so for a guy that is very old, and you know, he seems to crop up in a lot of things. When we originally watched the reimagined Battlestar Galactica, my wife used to comment that he's the guy that always looks ill, because he does. He always looks really pale and drawn out.
That's all because he's doing too much, I think, Dave.
Well, he's got a lot of stuff on the go. I mean, I moan about stuff on his podcast, but I don't know. I think perhaps I've got it easy.
I've got one last thing on Star Wars. There's a new novel coming up, post Rogue One novel called Inferno Squad.
I've seen the cover to it.
Yeah, I think that's a sort of artwork still in progress, but it's kind of like an Imperial logo with like and flamed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have heard that's actually to be revised, but that's what I've seen myself as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it apparently follows after Rogue One, and the Empire are a bit annoyed that some small band managed to grab the plans to the Death Star. They assemble like a hardcore hit squad to go after different rebel groups, and that they are the Inferno Squad. So this novel's going to be taken from the other side compared to Rogue One. So yeah, it might be something to look forward to in the near future.
Yeah, it sounds like a sort of crack group, doesn't it? Like a commando or a hunting squad that's out to sort things out and settle things.
Yeah.
Have you seen that humorous picture that's going around the internet? And it's got a picture of the X-Wing and Y-Wing pilots briefing from A New Hope when they're going through the attack plan for the Death Star. And General Dodana's, he's up there at the front of the room and he's got the board of the screen up and it's got some of his dialogue written underneath the picture and it says, thanks to the plans provided by Princess Leia. And the picture's kind of split in two halves. In the bottom half, you've got Jyn Erso and Cassian Anders giving a really quizzical look as if to say, hang on a minute, credit where credit's due here.
Well, I think they'll have to go back and revise them now, won't they? After what they did in Rogue One, they all gave their lives for that.
Yeah, great stuff. I think that's really it for Star Wars then.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated. Any new news will be posted on Facebook. We've had quite a lot of interaction on Twitter recently as well, so we'll be keeping up on that and hopefully getting more comments from you guys out there.
I mean, I'm never too sure how to interpret that. I mean, I don't really bother with Twitter. It's not really my thing. When it comes to social media, I'm in the council estate of social media with Facebook. And obviously, I do see the emails, though, still coming into the hot one, but so-and-so is now following, so-and-so is now following, so-and-so liked your tweet, what have you, this, that, and the other. And I'm never really too sure how to interpret that or how that possibly translates into listeners or people that are supporting us out there. Social media, I don't know, it's I think it's a double-edged sword. It's like you have to have a presence on it, but you're never really sure quite how effective it actually is.
It is the fickle friendship of the playground. It is like that, Dave. You'll be friends with someone this week and then forget about you the next week. It's like you have to keep up the presence. You have to have the newest bomber jacket or Nike Air or whatever, to get the kids' attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a shame in some ways because it could be such a powerful thing for the dissemination of information and keeping people informed and spreading the news about good causes and that. And yet it seems to be used for the most trivial things. And then people like us that kind of try to put something out there, it kind of, I don't know, it's as if we just get scrolled over, which seems a bit of a shame.
We get shot down as false news or something like that. So.
We probably are. Yeah. Oh, I did say I was going to email Tarkin's Top Shelf podcast about that Gareth Shrike, about Woody Harrelson possibly filling the role of Gareth Shrike in the upcoming Han Solo standalone, which is something I still haven't got round to because I've just had too much of a workload on me back at the moment. But I will get around to it and see what they say, and then we'll get back to it on the podcast at some point in future. So I haven't forgotten that. It's on my list of to-do things, my rapidly growing list of to-do things. But yeah, I mean, I think that's where we are with Star Wars for today.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Mihaela Zhembei. I'm from Moldova, and you're listening to Hot Wampa.
Hello, Wampas. Stephen Waterhouse here. Love the show.
Hot Wampa, where we like our Tautans free range. Yummy.
Okay, I guess we should get on with Showcase, in this case, Interstellar. Interstellar is a 2014 epic science fiction film, co-written, co-produced and directed by Christopher Nolan. The film stars Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, Bill Irwin, Ellen Burstyn and Michael Caine. In the film, a crew of astronauts travels through a wormhole in search of a new home for humanity. Brothers Christopher and Jonathan Nolan wrote the screenplay, which has its origins in a script Jonathan developed in 2007. Nolan produced the film with his wife Emma Thomas through their production company Syncopy, and with Linda Obst through Linda Obst Productions. Caltech theoretical physicist Kip Thorne, whose work inspired the film, was an executive producer and acted as scientific consultant. Later, he also wrote a tie-in book, The Science of Interstellar. Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures co-financed the film. Cinema photographer Hoyt van Hoytema shot the film on 35mm in anamorphic format and IMAX 70mm. Principal photography commenced in late 2013 in Alberta, Iceland and Los Angeles. The film utilised extensive practical and miniature effects, while double negative created additional digital effects. Interstellar premiered on October 26, 2014 in Los Angeles. In the United States it was released on film stock, expanding to venues using digital projectors. The film was successful at the box office with a worldwide gross of over $675 million and received positive reviews from critics, who gave particular praise to the film's science fiction themes, Hans Zimmer's musical score, the visual effects, and the performances of McConaughey, Hathaway, Chastain, Kane, Damon, Bill Irwin and Mackenzie Foy. It received several awards and nominations. At the 87th Academy Awards, the film won the Best Visual Effects Award and was nominated for Best Original Score, Best Sound Mixing, Best Sound Editing and Best Production Design. Sometime in the 21st century, crop blight on Earth has made farming increasingly difficult and threatens humanity's survival. Joseph Cooper, a widowed former engineer and NASA pilot, runs a farm with his father-in-law Donald, son Tom and daughter Murphy, who believes her bedroom is haunted by a poltergeist. When a pattern is created out of dust on the floor, Cooper realises that gravity is behind its formation, not a ghost. He interprets the pattern as a set of geographic coordinates formed into binary code. Cooper and Murphy follow the coordinates to a secret NASA facility where they are met by Cooper's former professor, Dr. Brand. Brand reveals that a wormhole mysteriously appeared near Saturn 48 years earlier, opening a pathway to a distant galaxy with potentially habitable planets. 12 volunteers travelled through it to assess each planet's suitability as humanity's new home. Led by Dr. Mann, volunteers Miller, Edmonds and Mann have sent back encouraging data from planets near a black hole called Gargantua. Brand recruits Cooper to pilot the spaceship Endurance to investigate further, while he works on Plan A, a gravitational theory for propulsion that would allow an exodus from Earth. The Endurance also carries 5,000 frozen embryos for the Plan B backup plan, which is to colonise a habitable planet to ensure humanity's survival. Cooper agrees to go, upsetting Murphy. Cooper's crew consists of scientist Romilly, Doyle, Brand's daughter Amelia and robots Tars and Case. Traversing the wormhole, they head to Miller's planet, an ocean world where time is severely dilated because of its proximity to Gargantua. For each hour there, 7 years pass on Earth. They find only the wreckage from Miller's expedition. Amelia retrieves Miller's data just before a gigantic wave hits, killing Doyle and waterlogging the engines. After returning to Endurance, they discover 23 years have elapsed on Earth. Murphy, now an adult, has been assisting Dr. Brand with his research. On his deathbed, he admits to her that Plan A was not feasible. He has known since Endurance departed. He reveals that Plan B was the only plan all along. In a recorded video session, Murphy notifies Amelia of her father's death, accusing her and Cooper of abandoning Earth. Believing the equations can be solved, she continues working on a solution to Plan A, knowing she needs more data on gravitational singularities. With limited fuel, the crew chooses Mann's planet over Edmonds as the next stop, since Mann is still transmitting. They have to wake Mann from his sleep. Once there, Mann assures the crew that the frozen planet is habitable despite its ammonia-laden atmosphere. While surveying the planet, Mann attempts to kill Cooper, revealing that the planet is inhospitable and he falsified the data he transmitted in hopes of being rescued. He steals Cooper's Ranger and heads for Endurance. Meanwhile, Romilly is killed by a booby trap set by Mann. Amelia rescues Cooper and they race to Endurance in a second lander, where Man is attempting a dangerous manual docking operation. Man ignores Cooper's warnings and perishes in the attempt, severely damaging the Endurance in the process. Cooper uses the lander to stabilise the ship. Case warns Cooper that Endurance is slipping towards Gargantua's pull. Cooper makes a quick decision to use Gargantua as a gravitational slingshot to propel the ship towards Edmund's planet, but their proximity to Gargantua means more time will elapse on Earth. To shed weight, Cooper and Tars jettison themselves back towards the black hole, so that Amelia and Case can complete the journey. Slipping past the event horizon, Cooper and Tars find themselves inside a tesseract, which resembles a stream of bookshelves capable of peering into Murphy's bedroom at different periods in her life. Cooper surmises that the tesseract and the wormhole were created to enable communication with Murphy, and that he was her ghost all along. Using the second hand on the watch he gave her before he left, Cooper relays the quantum data Murphy needs. Murphy realises this as well and uses the data to solve the gravitational equation. Following a turbulent ejection, Cooper awakens in a space habitat orbiting Saturn. He reunites with an aged Murphy who is nearing death. At Murphy's request, Cooper and Tars leave to rejoin a still young Amelia on Edmund's habitable planet, where she and Case are preparing a new human colony. Right, I don't have to sit here and read my plot synopsis for that because you've already just listened to it, because like Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier, I pre-recorded it.
I think more like Tom Hardy on Jack and Nori. I think you're going to get women calling you up, Dave, asking for a date after that. You know, I think it was professionally done, well read, and I love the background noise, so really good.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit easy when you do it like that because obviously, I mean, we record the show like this it's essentially live. So if we make a mistake, if we can't correct ourselves, if we go along, we have to try and sort it out in editing, and sometimes that's not always seamless. But I think when you sort of pre-record or something like that, you know, you've got no excuses. You can get it 100% right, and you can read it through sort of clearly and relaxed. And obviously, if you get it wrong, you stop and you just go back and do it all over again. So yeah, I mean, that's good to do it that way. But Interstellar, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're sitting there with your fact sheet, and I know it's a film that infuses you to a degree, Mark.
I think emotionally, Dave, yeah, certainly when I first saw it, I was moved to tears, and not just through the effects and the actors and the portrayal of these characters. I think just in the time, time really scared me in this film, and the way they showed how quickly it moves and, you know, how insignificant we are in the universe. I think that was one of the things that really comes across.
Yeah, it's perhaps you being a bit of a romantic soul because you're aware, the same as we all are, that you're getting older.
Yeah, no longer immortally doors, as I used to believe, so...
None of us are immortal. That's why I said I want to go back to being 16 to 18, because at that stage I was. You said it's gripped you emotionally. I know the movie gets a lot of credit for being one of the science fiction films out there that's, you know, that scientists and physicists and mathematicians actually say, well, actually, you know, the way they've looked at this is respectful and viable. But you think it divided audiences. Why do you think it divided audiences?
Okay, well, personally, I mean, I have no evidence to hear, but this is just like a general consensus after asking many people since 2014 on their personal opinions of it. I think Interstellar is a very deep film that you know, does question our place in the universe and life expectancy of the Earth, life expectancy of us as humans. And it's done over, I believe, 169 minutes, which is almost 3 hours. A majority of my friends, similar age to us, Dave, probably prefer a film 2 hours and below. So it was quite a lengthy film. I mean, I think it's 46 minutes in before they even see a spacecraft in this film. So, you know, it's quite a slog. It is a long film.
I have to say that because I borrowed a disc of you, obviously, and it starts out with that sort of, you know, it's the Dust Bowl, it's crop blight, it's farming gone wrong, it's old world technology like the Indian drone coming down in the crop field, and they're trying to salvage it simply because it's got value as salvage. You know, they can reuse the parts in the day-to-day lives. Trucks chasing around, flat tires, kids' problems at school. I felt for 3/4 of an hour, I thought I was getting an episode of The Waltons or something. I was starting to sit there thinking to myself, I thought this was a science fiction movie. And then we've got the mysterious goings on in Murphy's bedrooms with the patterns of the dust and all the rest of it, which she as a child believes is a poltergeist, even though Cooper, her father, remains sceptical of that. Other than the sort of flashback scenes when we go back to Cooper's ejection when he was a test pilot on an astronaut program, we don't really get an inkling of what's going on, do we?
No.
And then it starts to pick up and go forward from that point. And I think you're right. I think it's a bit of this is like Ben-Hur. It's epic. Because it's the same with his son. We see his son grow up and fall in love and have children, and illness affect his son's own family, and the situation on Earth getting increasingly worse, crop fields burning down, social disorder coming into play. It is an epic film, and yet throughout it, Cooper ages, a week or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's okay for a film to have a long story like that, and in the way that Interstellar does, we call it epic simply because of its duration, because of the physical length of the film to sit and watch it. If it keeps your interest engaged, and if it keeps your emotions played throughout that duration, I think it's fine for a film to be long. It's if it goes on that period of time and you just don't feel invested, or you're not really interested in what's going to happen next, then the film's got a problem. I think Interstellar, though, in all fairness to the film, holds itself up very well. I think it does keep you well intrigued. I think you do feel yourself become invested, as you should, because like you've rightly said, it addresses human mortality, it addresses the fate of the Earth, it addresses that breakdown, and it addresses in a serious scientific way what we could potentially or possibly do about it. So I think it should engage people, whether it has. I mean, like you say, you feel it's a bit of an audience divider. I enjoyed it. I think it's a high quality film. I think it's a very intelligent film. I think emotionally you do get invested in the characters. Cooper was a bit of a strange character to me on initially watching it. Because your initial impression that he's trying to salvage technology, he's a farmer, he's got a beaten up pickup truck, he's widowed, he's raising 2 children by himself. Is it his father-in-law that lives with him?
Yeah, father-in-law is Donald, played by the great John Lithgow.
Yeah.
As always, since Rise of the Planet of the Apes, obviously Twilight Zone movie going back many years. He was even in Buckaroo Banzai, which is a movie that always seems to get cross-referenced, doesn't it?
I think it's probably going to have to go on the agenda at some stage just for that cult appeal. I get the impression of Cooper that he's actually quite a simple fellow.
Yeah. What is his job now in the film at the beginning? What does he actually do?
He's a farmer.
That's just it, just a farmer, yeah. And it's
But then it says that in the intro when you see that old lady on that screen saying, well, my father was a farmer, like everyone was back then. I get the impression that crop blight and famine and food shortages and agriculture, along with everything else, has broken down so much that the percentage of people that have to farm in order to feed the population has gone up, because they're probably losing a greater degree of each yield of each crop. My father was a farmer like everyone was back there. The story of Interstellar doesn't come out of a shiny utopian world when it on the back of our own technological advances and we're bravely going out there to explore and test theories. The story of Interstellar comes on the back of natural disaster and things going to pot.
And the whole mission is based on a lie or hope, however you want to look at it, isn't it? I mean, there's no guarantees the mission is going to be any sort of a success. It's a very slim chance of actually succeeding, isn't it?
It is, and they've sent people before and not heard anything back from them, which would say to somebody who's going again, think twice about this. But that's the race against the individuals. I mean, plan B in this film, the plan to take embryos and then to bring those embryos on a colonized planet, is the guarantee for the human race. Now, for the individual, that's not a guarantee, because you'll be coming to the end of your life as these embryos are starting to mature and becoming adults of reproductive age themselves. your life will be lived through, you won't get any benefit. Or if you're on Earth and part of this program, like Michael Caine is for the long term, to try and ensure that humanity can survive, it's still of no benefit to you personally, because you're going to live your life out or you're going to pass away whilst this is going on. It's about trying to save the race.
Yeah, and in many respects, it treats us kind of like insects. You know, it's like us preserving the next race rather than thinking selfishly about ourselves, really.
Yeah, but isn't life like that to a degree anyway? I mean, we do ourselves. We procreate, we have children. We expect those children to, at some stage in their life, to probably do exactly the same thing. And that we expect our children and our grandchildren to outlive us. We're all descended of basic humanoids that were walking around 1,000 years ago, every single one of us. And there'll be humans walking around in 1,000 years' time that are descended from us. You know, isn't it just an extension of that pattern of life anyway? I mean, I don't know that that's...
I agree with you, Dave, there. I know thousands of years ago, those people had to think on a day-to-day survival basis. But I think that the 21st century human kind of can be a bit more insular than looking about procreation. And, you know, we do have much more, time maybe to look at our own lives and do the things that we wanted to do. Whereas our grandparents or great-grandparents probably never got to achieve those things.
We get to live our own lives through a more selfish perspective. Which is why I think Cooper's a good guy to be on this mission, because whilst he's obviously a very intelligent and capable man, he doesn't come across as a very selfish man.
No.
But this is the point. It's not until the bit I think he gets called into the school. I can't remember if the problem at school is with his daughter, Murphy, or with his son. It's one of his two children, but he's talking to the teachers across this table. And he starts to have an argument with the female teacher across the table about whether the Apollo program was genuine. He's defending it and saying it was.
Yeah.
She's turning round to him and saying, actually, I believe it was a propagated lie to help bankrupt the Soviet Union, this, that, and the other. I mean, we've talked about false news already. I mean, I think we live in a culture now which is very untrusting and distrustful of a lot of the stuff people are told and people are taught, and people look for their own answers. And I think it's the actual headmaster himself.
Yeah, David Oyelowo. He became an Academy Award winner a couple of years after this, didn't he?
Yeah.
A great actor. I mean, this film is crammed full of great actors and award-winning actors. So.
I think he says to Cooper, "You're clearly a well-educated man,"
yeah.
Which to me, to that stage, Cooper doesn't. He seems like quite a simplistic, laid-back type of soul. You know, like I said, with his beaten up pickup and living with his father-in-law on a farm and this, that and the other. And I think it's that you realise that he's in that situation because of how bad things are. The way a lot of people are probably in that situation because of how bad a lot of things are. That if the world hadn't fallen apart, he might still be a test pilot on a program or working as an engineer or on a mission out there somewhere in space.
I think that's where his intelligence is, Dave. I think that, as you said, like an engineer, so practicality and how he can work things out, probably more than academic on the paper stuff.
Yeah.
So and obviously the headmaster recognises that. And I guess he probably was a faded local hero as well. He was the guy who lived around here who went, up into space.
He was like John Glenn, but to a different generation, or your sort of Neil Armstrong. He was a pioneer in that regard. His Tim Peake is to us, is what Cooper would be to his local townsfolk, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it does portray the breakdown on Earth very well. I think there's a stage where there's like trucks and cars going through a sort of typical Western, Midwestern sort of American street, and the dust is blowing through there like a sandstorm, and people are trying to take shelter in shops and stuff and hold handkerchiefs over mouths to try and filter the air they're breathing and stuff. I think the breakdown of life on Earth and the system on Earth that supports us and allows us to live is portrayed very well in Interstellar.
And I love the way the traditional sort of American baseball game tries to go ahead, and then we get the siren going off, that the dust is coming, and how people are trying to go about their lives and, live as normally as possible.
Yeah, there's this attempt at normality amongst people. But obviously we can't keep this conversation on Earth throughout this podcast because that's only a third of the film. So obviously we eventually get into space, the Endurance blasts off and docks with the ring thing in orbit, and off it goes towards Saturn and the wormhole to transit through to this other galaxy. what do you think when we get to this other galaxy? There's I think is it the first planet? I can't remember the name of it. Is it Miller's planet? The first one they visit to, the water world.
Yeah, that's right. The first one, yeah. So
they call it Miller's, I guess, because that was the name of the astronaut or the scientist that actually went to perform reconnaissance on that world that they never heard of. I think they find wreckage from his mission on the surface, don't they?
Sorry, Dave, to interrupt. As we're getting, how far are we into the film now? About 1 hour, probably.
Probably about that. Yeah. It takes a while to get us off Earth.
I've just got a message from Stephen Martin on the Hot Wampa Facebook page, and he said, I did try to watch the film last night, fell asleep, got to the bit behind the bookshelf. Sorry, can't be any help after that. Thanks for that, Steve. We appreciate the effort.
That's twice Stephen Martin's got himself into the same episode of Hot Wampa. Once in a planned fashion in housekeeping for a shout out, and once literally live on the show.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, and who says, if you interact with us, you'll make the show. And if that's not definitive proof of that principle, I don't know what is. Oh, well
anyway, back to the water planet. Sorry, Dave.
It sounds to me like Stephen Martin needs his sleep there. So I don't know that we can really take that into serious consideration and where we're going, because I think we've both seen this film a number of times and we've both got quite a lot out of it. They land on this water planet. There's the guy with the beard, the other scientist that lands with him. He's killed pretty much straight away. I mean, what's the point in that guy?
Yeah. Well, I guess, it's a plot device, isn't he?
Is it just to demonstrate how dangerous this new galaxy is and the places they are? I mean, this is on the water world. And they land on this water world, but it seems bizarre they find a shallow spot. We think of parts of like the North Sea are sort of 1 or 2 miles down, aren't they, before you hit the seabed underneath all the water. Yeah. And yet somehow they managed to land on an ocean world which is only about 2 foot deep.
But I was thinking, Dave, maybe the whole planet is only that deep. But the gravitational pull or the moon or something like that pulls that wave around the planet.
Well, waves are tidal. I mean, we get high tide, it's influenced by our own moon, isn't it? It's the lunar cycle that affects the tides. I mean, so we know that. Perhaps there's something to do with a black hole. I mean, that's got to exert some form of gravitational force. We know it's bending time on this planet because isn't it every hour they're down there's 23 years on Earth or something like that? Because for the guy they leave in orbit, the time is longer for him, isn't it?
That is one of the devastating moments of this film. That's Romilly, isn't it? And when they get back to the main craft, his beard is greyed, and how long have you been waiting? It's just. That is such a kick in the stomach, really, when you realise that how quickly time has gone past for them.
Yeah, for them, it's no longer than an hour or what have you that they've been gone. I mean, if I'd been that guy in orbit, I'd have gone to sleep for a while, wouldn't you? Try and preserve your status as opposed to allowing yourself to age.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's been awake for 23 years, I mean, how much food and water does a human being get through in 23 years? They'd come back and find the fridge was empty, surely.
You can imagine. I'm sorry about the cupboard. I ate all the mini eggs. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, all those chocolate eggs.
I did save you one after 8 mint.
It went out of date 18 years ago, mind.
Yeah. And a pot noodle is chow mein. I can't stand them, so I only had about half of it.
So, hold up. He put the water in it and then left the chow mein pot noodle. Yeah. So it wasn't even dehydrated.
There's another guy that goes down with them in the shuttle to the surface, though, who gets killed on the surface by that wave, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's just a plot device just to show how dangerous this new galaxy is, because that guy doesn't really contribute much to this film, does he?
No, he doesn't.
What about the robots? I mean, even they're out and whipping about on the surface. They're quite cool, aren't they?
Yeah, I like them.
Case and Tars, and there's a couple others in the film as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and the one that's on the planet we're going to go to, the one that's Iceland, it's a nice ice planet. The one on the robot on the ground is called Kip. And,
was that the one that Matt Damon's basically savaged him for parts or something?
Yeah, and the dismantled robot on the ice planet is a reference to Kip Thorne, who was the chief scientific advisor on the film, Dr. Kip Thorne.
Yeah, I think he's a physicist. I think I mentioned him in my walkthrough, my read-through. Which
you did, yeah.
For the show, yeah. Because I think we first see one of those robots when Cooper discovers that hidden NASA center, don't they? Perhaps we should go back to that. He figures out that these disturbances with dust patterns and what have you in his daughter Murphy's bedroom is actually giving him coordinates, and he interprets that, and he finds a location in the middle of the desert at night time, and it's a secret NASA center, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's the first time we get to meet the character of Amelia, who goes on this mission, and the scientist played by Michael Caine. And it's also the first time we get to see one of these robots. And I think Cooper's sat at a desk with this robot on the other side of the desk, and it's as if the robot's the customs official or the police desk sergeant or the interrogator or something like that on the other side of this desk. The robot is effectively asking Cooper, who are you, what are you doing out here, etc., etc. And even though it's like a straight sort of slab going upwards, it's almost got like an arch in its form, as if it's intimidatingly leaning over Cooper a little bit as it addresses him. Now, when I first saw that, I thought it looks a bit rubbish. I thought it looked like a vending machine or something.
Yeah, you're right.
It would be at a place stuck halfway up a pub wall to dispense a pack of free in the gentleman's or something like that. You know, put a quid in tars and you'll get some featherlight out the bottom.
Yeah.
Or a can of Coke or something. But when you actually see these, and it's the same when they're on the ships, because they're just basically like an oblong or a rect. It's like a monolith walking around from 2001 or something.
I think that was a lot of the reference there is to 2001.
The monolith.
Yeah, it is. I think Christopher Nolan even said that. But
and I think it's a coffee machine. I think how boring. I mean, they've obviously got a degree of character, but I think how boring and how bland it is. But I think when you first see one of them goes outside with the two astronauts onto the surface of that water world, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's when you first see them moving along, and they sort of, I don't know, they're like a Rubik's puzzle or something. They sort of split up
back and forth, don't they? Yeah, like the legs go forward, and there's a main body that goes back.
Yeah.
Sort of move forward like that. Yeah, it was Miller's Planet, Dave, was the first one, the water world.
Miller's Planet.
Yeah, and it's Doyle who's the one who is drowned. So
yeah, Miller's Planet's the first one, and they obviously, I mean, they find wreckage there. Fine, it's not suitable for their habitation. The next planet of choice, obviously, I think is it Man's Planet?
Brand.
Is it Brand?
Is it Brand? Dr. Brand. Because Brand is the. I think it's the lover of Anne Hathaway's character, isn't it?
I'm not 100% sure.
Or husband. Hold on. I'm getting there now.
No, in my notes here, Murphy, now an adult, has been assisting Dr. Brand with his research. Brand is Michael
Caine and Anne Hathaway, sorry. But it's Brand's sort of ex-boyfriend or something like that is on the next planet, isn't he?
Yeah, it's that's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah.
Yeah, who I can't stand, and I wasn't surprised when he turned out to be a wronger, to be honest with you.
He was a wronger, wasn't he? I mean, this was a great cameo, I think. It was really held back from everybody, and I think nobody saw it coming that it was going to be Matt Damon who came out of that stasis pod.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really well-kept secret, and when I watched it, I think I watched the film... I didn't see it at the cinema. I think I saw it on Film 4 or something like that. And it took me by surprise. And then after I thought, well, probably I knew that, but I didn't remember it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't he look old now compared to sort of things like Good Will Hunting and all the rest of it and all the other things he's been in?
He does, yeah. Sorry, Dave. Yeah, it's Man's Planet. You're right. Dr. Man is Matt Damon.
Yeah. I wasn't too sure. Yeah, and he comes out there and he's got all greys and all sorts now, isn't he? I mean, he's hardly the teen idol anymore.
No.
But I mean, like I said, I've never liked him. I've never liked some of his political views and his commentary and stuff and some of the rubbish he's come out of. I've never thought he was a good actor. So when it turned out that he was the bad guy and he got wasted trying to dock wrongly, I thought, good, get rid of him. And then he tried to kill Cooper, our hero.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
He set off a booby trap that killed the other guy.
Yeah.
Savaged his own robot. I mean, come on, who can like him?
Selfish buggers, they go back to the ship and float back to Earth saying it all went wrong, but I managed to get off.
Yeah, Matt Damon's character, no surprise to me that he was a wrong'un.
I do. I mean, I like the Jason Bourne films, I must admit. I like them. I enjoyed them. But, yeah, I can see why he isn't everyone's cup of tea. And back in the early ages of his acting, he was a bit boring, I thought. Him and Ben Affleck together, that sort of partnership. But when he's... I don't know.
I think he's still boring now.
Did you see the Green Zone? I guess
no.
If you don't like him. But yeah, there are some good Matt Damon films out there.
And of course, his planet, I mean, he's falsified the data. I think the planet itself is too toxic and cold and ammonia laden to support a human colony. But he's falsified the data rather selfishly to make sure that somebody comes along and checks him out and rescues him. And he's got no patience to wait because he wants to steal the Endurance and try to get back to Earth and prepare to kill people and leave them behind to do so. I also think he was up to no good with the rest of his crew when he was on that planet, because I think part of his sabotaging the robot is the robot perhaps has a memory of events that occurred.
Yeah, so he probably tried to somehow sabotage their sleep or something like that, or maybe there weren't enough food or something like that. Yeah, so you're probably right.
Yeah, so he was a wrong, and good riddance to him. They finally decide from that position to move on to a final planet at this stage. We've got just Amelia and Cooper left to the mission. They work out that you can perform a gravitational slingshot from Gargantua, the black hole, in order to check out this third and final planet, which turns out we don't know at the time, but it is the most promising prospect. Cooper jettisons his part of the ship away from Amelia's to remove the weight to help boost her on, and she goes on towards and lands on this planet, whereas he's taken by this black hole or this singularity, whatever it is. And this is where the film starts to get a bit confusing. Now, it adds up. I think it goes full circle. I think what you see in the start, you get the insight to how it happens at the end, and you can loop the film when he ends up in that Tesseract with just the voice of the robot with him. And he realises that that's a means to communicate with his daughter in her bedroom through gravity, and that's what it was. Not the poltergeist as his daughter surmised, but somehow he's able to influence from that and get a signal through to his daughter. I think she reads it on the second hand of a watch or something like that and works out what it is.
Yeah.
Coordinates, which they need to solve an equation back on Earth to save mankind. Who constructed the Tesseract? Is it humans in the distant future?
Well, I think that's what it kind of leads us to believe. We don't really see any evidence of alien life, do we?
No, and we understand that he's using that and its proximity to the wormhole to communicate with Murphy. But I don't know, because we've got this time dilation thing with this film, where time obviously... I mean, I don't know, you could go to this place, couldn't you? Spend an hour, 23 years, have gone by on Earth. Spend 2 hours, 46 years, 3 hours, most of the people you know are dead, and so on. Is it... I don't know. Is there, because of this, is there somewhere else where time's going rapidly and we're still able to advance, and a human colony at some point in the future has developed this thing, put it in the right place, and it's capable of taking Cooper in, it knows about history, so that he can communicate the answer they need back to his daughter. This is where the film does start to get a bit complex. To me, this film was a bit like, is it the Higgs boson particle or something they found in that collider? They managed to produce in that collider thing in Switzerland or whatever it is under the ground there. Yeah. That they wanted to prove its existence, but they could only make it physically exist for something like a fraction of a millisecond or something, couldn't they? Because it's just something they couldn't maintain. My understanding of this film is like that. For a brief pause in time, I actually got it. And then it was gone. I couldn't hold it. It's like my brain was only capable of processing it for a millisecond, but couldn't, it was too big for me to grasp.
I think the moment when he's going through, because he goes in with the robot, doesn't he?
Yes. But he loses contact with the robot. You can't see the robot, but you're still able to talk to the robot on his radio in his spacesuit.
Yeah, and the robot, I guess, is the one that drags him to safety somehow.
I don't know, because that kind of dissolves, and the next thing we see is his body floating in orbit around Saturn.
Yeah.
And he's taken on board that space station where eventually his aged daughter...
Yeah,
because time has passed differently for her to him. He's at her deathbed. I found that bit quite emotionally tough.
Yeah.
I mean, if say Cooper's around our age or thereabouts, the last time he saw his daughter, she was a child... And now here she is, this child that should have outlived him as an old woman on a bed in front of him, literally within hours of what's left of her life. I found that really emotionally tough. And yet it shouldn't be a sad thing, because for her, she's lived her life.
And she's succeeded, hasn't she?
She achieved something scientifically great, which benefited and possibly saved mankind. So you shouldn't be sad for her. But you're really sad, I think, in that moment for Cooper.
Well, you are, because she's surrounded by her family and people who love her, and he hasn't got a clue who they bloody are. And he's a major part of her life, but to the rest of them, they don't know him at all, do they?
These people that are around her that could be nieces and nephews, possibly one or two of her own children, and yet he's her father, and he's the same age as most of them are.
Yeah.
And it's not just that it's a tricky concept to get your head around, because I think you can get your head around the principle of time dilation and explain it away. It doesn't cause me a headache. But the emotional thing that your own child is now there in front of you as an old person on the deathbed. I mean, that must be... I really feel for Cooper in that part.
Yeah, and she basically tells him, there's nothing here for you, enjoy it, but you really got to get out there, and Brand's still out there waiting for you, and... And
he does, doesn't he? He gets the robot and gets himself in a spaceship and he heads off. And I think we assume, because we do see that scene of Brand, don't she? She's on the planet. I think she's got the helmet off. So it's obviously this is a planet that's at least habitable or friendly to some degree.
Yeah.
And we see all the sort of modules from the base that's been set up around there. I only assume she's getting on with the work of propagating these embryos, these 5,000 embryos, to start a new colony.
She's 99 years, it says here, near death. When his daughter, and that is, sorry to go back to it, Dave, but that's the moment when she says, "You were my ghost," and it connects the child, the 10-year-old, to the present day, and that does upset me when I watch it, because it's like all the things you missed, and in some ways similar to, all right, it was a film we did a couple of episodes ago, but Flight of the Navigator, which, cheesy Disney sort of family sci-fi, but there is something about missing that childhood, that David wakes up in a field and he's missed those years, and something perhaps just living and living out day by day, no matter how monotonous it is. That is our story, isn't it? And he's missed a big part of his story because he was buggering off to some planet, near a black hole.
And it's been such a wonderful story as well, because she's lived a full life, she's lived a long life, and she really achieved something in that life. And I'm sure that must really hit him in the heart.
Yeah.
Everything perhaps he could have subconsciously hoped his daughter could be, she's managed to achieve in her life. And I don't think we are sad for her, because she's just followed the natural pattern of things. She's gotten old and she's died.
However,
but I think we are sad for Cooper.
Yeah, we are. But however, Dave, I mean, when we see her at Jessica Chastain, the death of Michael Caine, Professor Brand, which we haven't spoken about, we sort of focused on Coop more. But, I mean, he's passing. She got on the comm and sent a message to Anne Hathaway, didn't she? Sort of Brand saying that your father died. Did you know it was a lie, this whole thing? And I think emotionally, where Jessica Chastain is, Mirth, that character, I don't know whether she would have been able to pick up her pieces, or when she would just hold on to her father missing in space all those years. So that's two things I can't really put together.
I think it's around that scene as well when Cooper looks at that screen and realises it's Murphy, and you realise that it's not just the character of Amelia that's invested in the message that she's transmitting through, because obviously she's informing her about the passing of her father. I get the impression at that stage that's the first time Cooper's actually ever seen his daughter as an adult, as a young woman.
Yeah, because she's...
Like I said, the last time he saw her, she was a little girl who hadn't forgiven him for his decision to go.
Yeah, that's right.
And you suddenly, that look on his face, and you realise that moment is just as powerful for him as it is for the character of Amelia.
Yeah. And when he's crying and, looking at the screen, And, But there are a few of those videos which are very powerful. I think old Christopher Nolan uses those very well. Like when Casey Affleck is on the screen, Tom, his son, talking about Donald, John Lithgow's character. He died last week, kind of thing. And just day by day, things are happening, obviously, on Earth, and the problems are mounting. And by the time he gets these messages, obviously, it's already happened a long time ago. So.
Yeah, and the situation back on Earth from one day to the next could have changed dramatically, and he's kind of in a way in a separate world, completely insulated to it. And every time he comes back to it, there's been a massive change because there's been so much time that's passed. I think it's I think emotionally it is quite a tricky film, Interstellar. I came out of it feeling the same to you, that I think it affected me. But I still trying to figure out quite how it affected me, because it gave me moments of optimism. It gave me moments I thought were hopeful. But like I said, it also gave me those moments that I found were very sad and very soul-searching.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think this was one of those movies. Obviously, Christopher Nolan cast Matthew McConaughey on the strength of a film called Mud he made, where Matthew McConaughey had to interact with a young actor, a young boy, and he could see the connection he had with the child, and I guess that's why he was cast, because of Murph and Tom, and bringing up the kids and stuff like that. There was a real bond there, and also it was a big part of as it's called, the McConaissance, which is Matthew McConaughey's return to form as a real actor who was appreciated after years of slumming it in sort of chick flicks and romantic comedies, and it's true. This guy is a good actor, as it's been recognised. Well, Wolf of Wall Street, things like that he's been in, True Detective, recent films that we've seen where he's been excellent. So and over the 169 minutes, as we've sort of spoken about more, it is about Coop's sort of journey as a an astronaut completing his mission.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, like you said, he actually is quite an accomplished actor, but I think really he needs a vehicle like Interstellar to display that, because in other things he's been in, like perhaps not film programming of such a quality of this, or as epic as this, whereas with this he's got a chance to really go out there and flex those acting muscles.
Mm-hmm. And it's a funny thing about Matt Damon, who turned up a year later with Jessica Chastain in The Martian, which is another film where Matt Damon's stranded in space again. So
yeah, leave him there.
Yeah, leave him there. If you're on a spacecraft with Matt Damon, you're going in for a bad day. So
don't send him instructions how to grow potatoes out of the Martian soil or whatever it is that he does to survive and all the rest of it. Let the Red Planet claim him. I don't personally have much more on Interstellar, mate.
Well, I've got a few things here. Hans Zimmer, I mean, my adjective I put next to Hans Zimmer, I think the score for this one was understated. And I'm not saying it's anywhere less than Man of Steel or Inception or any of the other great scores. But for me, I haven't got the CD, but what I've listened is very slow and poignant. And I believe Christopher Nolan wanted it to be 60 seconds and, just like a clock. So every second is represented on the score. I mean, you're a music man. I mean, you enjoy listening to soundtracks, Dave. What did you think of this one?
I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's a gorgeous soundtrack. I think it sweeps, but in a very subtle way, in an emotionally low and building way, not in an epic way. I think it's haunting, the piano notes and the extremely slow and subtle orchestra in there in the tones. I think it's a gorgeous score. I really do. This is one I've been looking for to get a CD on cheap.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, Hans Zimmer wrote this just based on one page of concept of the movie. Christopher Nolan didn't tell him a lot; just said he wanted it based on like time, and that's about it. So it just shows you this is Hans Zimmer who wrote and composed the music for Going for Gold with Henry Kelly. The BBC.
No way.
Yeah, that's where he began working for the BBC.
Well, a bit like with McConaughey getting the chance to actually perform his acting chops on this movie, it would seem that Hans Zimmer's gone from Going for Gold to actually being able to show us what he can do with this.
And lifting the gold medal.
A beautifully melodic, haunting score. I think it sweeps. I think it's very powerful emotionally, and that it suits the film very well in that context. Did he win anything for this score?
I don't think so.
Why? That's a real crime.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of Hans Zimmer, you think of Christopher Nolan. It's like Spielberg and Williams. The two of them work together very well. So I'm having a look if he got any awards.
There's obviously quite a good chemistry between them, and Zimmer is obviously very good at interpreting into music what Nolan's trying to put onto film.
Yeah. I loved Inception, but again, the ending, as we said, is a bit. It opens it up. I don't know if this wormhole in space is going to be Murph's bookcase. That's something that's just bizarre. But as a lot of cosmologists will tell you, it's just as likely as anything else. There's no way we would know what is through there. It could be that. It could be something completely different. And that was the argument with 2001 as well, wasn't it, at the end? I mean, a lot of people find it bizarre or unusual or impossible, but what do we know?
Well, I'm still trying to get some of the concepts of 2001. I mean, that's a way too spacey film for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. As a divider, I think it depends on what you want from the film and your own mindset going into the film.
Yeah.
I think if you're open-minded, I think if you're fresh-minded and rested, and you need to be for Interstellar, because it's not a 5-minute job, and you go in there and you let yourself become invested in the film, I think you get the reward.
Well, I've got a few facts. Let's have a look. The robot personalities are inspired by genuine people personalities from Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide universe. So, they're based on those kind of...
sort of Marvin the Paranoid Android.
Exactly. This was a sixth collaboration between...
Gene the Paranoid Vending Machine.
Yeah, give me my bloody skips. This is the sixth collaboration between Michael Caine and Christopher Nolan. So they, and it's the first time Michael Caine dies in a Christopher Nolan film.
Of course, yeah, because he'd been in the Batman films as well.
That's right, as Alfred. He was also in the Inception. And so what was the other one with the rival magicians? Do you remember that one? Who was it? Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. The Prestige, that's it. Which is a really good film with a nice little twist in it. And David Bowie appears in that one as well as Tesla. A really good film. We get the "Do not go gentle into that good night" speech. That famous poem by Dylan Thomas, which is sort of overly quoted, I find. For a cornfield scene, lots of corn at the beginning of this, Christopher Nolan sought to grow 500 acres of corn, which he learned was feasible from producing Man of Steel, and the corn was later sold for a profit. So that's good business, isn't it?
That's a great fact.
Yeah, we've got this bloody director, he's going to grow some corn, but actually sells it for a profit. Brilliant. Have you got any corny jokes for that one?
No, not really. I think you've got the kernel of choice in that one. You managed to get out of there.
Steven Spielberg was attached to the film in 2006 and hired Jonathan Nolan to write the screenplay. When Steven Spielberg dropped out, his brother just said, "Hey, I've got this good screenplay. Do you fancy it?" And that's how it came about. Cooper's first name is not revealed throughout the film, so we don't know his Christian name. The wormhole explanation using paper and pen is exactly the same as it appears in Event Horizon, a former Hot Wampa showcase.
As explained to us in that occasion by Sam Neill.
Exactly. Anne Hathaway suffered from hypothermia while filming in Iceland due to the fact that her astronaut suit was open while filming scenes in icy water. So she probably needed some warming up after that.
She needed a bit of cocaine.
The Ranger, Endurance and Lander spacecraft were created using miniature effects and full-size models by effects company New Deal Studios. So good that, these things are still being done by hand, as practical as possible kind of thing.
I quite like the look of the ship. I got the idea of this thing was basically it was a modular transporter. It carried what it needed to on that truss or that trellis or whatever you want to call it, and it carried nothing else. I think I quite like the sort of aesthetic and the engineering design of the ships.
I did, and they seem kind of real world, didn't they?
Yes.
If we look at the near future, we've got space shuttle, sort of those kind of devices. It's just sort of evolved slightly, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah,
practical enough to be effective for their purposes, but complicated enough to kill Matt Damon when he tries to dock with it, and that's fine by me.
Surely, as a professional astronaut, he would know that he couldn't dock at that time. Even though he overrode it, it was.
Well, he clearly never played Elite as a kid and realised you had to match rotation to get yourself into the space station.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows that of a certain age. If you're listening to this and you don't know that, ask your parents.
After watching the 2012 documentary The Dust Bowl, Christopher Nolan contacted its director, Ken Burns, requesting permission to use some of the interviews featured in the film. So I believe The Dust Bowl was a film about the 1930s. It was, the apocalyptic setting of Earth in the film was inspired by the Dust Bowl disaster, which took place in the USA in the 1930s. And it was caused by drought, So, we look at global warming and the problems we have with deforestation, etc. today. Obviously, in the 1930s, this was a disaster where the crops didn't take, there was no water, and, people were living in poverty for a long while. So some of those interviews are from that. Obviously, Ellen Burstyn is the first woman we see, because she talks about her father. And then at the end, she closes the film as well. So she sort of tops and tails here.
Well, is she on a screen? And there's like on board
Yeah.
that space station at Saturn. It's almost like it's like a visitor attraction, like Cromwell's house. And they've kind of got a recreation of Cooper's house.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's Cooper's station, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's named after his daughter.
Yeah. Not him, because he thought, that's a good point, isn't it?
I can imagine you taking groups of foreign students around there on a Saturday or something like that. That's kind of the way the place comes across to me, you know. And there's like a screen at the start of it, like part of the exhibit. And it's all kind of, it's period deco inside, dust on the tables. I mean, they make comments about the dust getting in everywhere, which you've got a drought. Crops die, plants die, because they haven't got the water to sustain them. And as we know, it's the roots and infrastructure of plants that actually prevent soil from eroding and breaking down and becoming dust and travelling in the wind. All these things are linked in. Scientifically, I think it's quite a viable film.
Yeah, I agree. A copy of Stephen King's epic The Stand can be seen on Murph's shelf. Now, on her bookshelf, there are many, many books. Many of them that Christopher Nolan used as inspiration for the film. Some others are just fake books with the names of the characters from the film on the spines, if you have a good look at that. But Stephen King's The Stand is interesting because Matthew McConaughey will be playing the character Randall Flagg, who's the big bad guy in The Stand, in the upcoming Dark Tower movie with opposite some great actors who I can't remember at the moment. This is a big film that nobody thought was possible to make. So that's going to be quite interesting to see what they make of that. And Matthew McConaughey, as we said, is riding a wave at the moment. Not quite like the rave we saw him on that planet, but.
You talk about The Stand here being Stephen King. I'm assuming this is some sort of horror flick, as we associate with Stephen King.
The sort of Stephen King magnum opus, really. The Dark Tower is a 7-book series,
right?
That incorporates all different characters from Stephen King novels. So, like Pennywise the clown from It, for example, would be in this series of books. So, ancient evil of all kind are in this series, The Dark Tower.
Right.
However,
it's kind of people you don't want to meet on a dark night assemble.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And Idris Elba is the gunslinger, Roland Deschain, which is the one I couldn't remember. So he's a great actor. So those two are playing against each other. But The Stand was about a virus that wiped out like 90% of the population of the world. And you had two colonies, the good people and the bad people. And the bad people had a leader called Randall Flagg, who's kind of like the devil, I guess you could say. There is some sort of religious connotations to it. And it's like good versus evil. But, I think it's about 1,500 pages, something like that. So, it's a big...
So why is Cooper allowing it to go on his daughter's bookshelf?
Who knows? I mean, The Watch was there, wasn't it? Yeah,
Well, I mean, a horror novel on a child's bookshelf.
I don't know. What would you let your daughter read? I mean, when would you let her read Stephen King?
Oh, God.
13, 12? Older?
When I think she's mature enough to understand it and realise that it is just fiction and that it's not going to keep her up all night, I think. I'll be honest, I mean, I can watch horror films and they leave me feeling disturbed, even something as flimsy as a Halloween movie with Mike Myers, and I'll go around the house lock up at nights and I'll expect him to come out of the fridge behind me or something like that, do you know what I mean?
And say, yeah, baby.
No, not that one.
Oh, Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I've just got Austin Powers in my head, like going around your house in his purple suit.
Behave. No, he wouldn't scare me. I mean the guy in the green mechanic's overalls with the white mask and all the rest of it.
Yeah, the William Shatner mask.
Yeah, that's it. Even something as choice as that can disturb me, and I'm nearly a 42-year-old man now. But so I don't know at what stage I'd allow my daughter to have something like that on the shelf when I thought she was intelligent and emotional enough, I guess.
And books sometimes stay with you longer than movies, don't they? When you read it, you definitely invest more time and energy into it and create these images in your head, don't you?
Well, I think a book can stay with you because you can read a book, put it on your shelf, and it'll be there for years. Perhaps someone else in the family will read a book. A friend will borrow that book and bring it back. You might sit there and think, after seeing a television program about that book 10 years later, you know what, and pick it off a shelf and reread it. You can throw a book in your bag or in your jacket pocket or something and take it with you and have do a chapter or two when you get a free 10 minutes during your day. I think books always have a place.
Yeah, you're right. And unless you want to look like an idiot on the train, Aldous Aldous Huxley or something, or The Catcher in the Rye or something like that, have it hanging out your pocket or your bag so you look like one of these Uber readers, like some people do. I think there's a list that came out recently of 50 books that people say that they have read, but they haven't,
Uh-huh.
Just to look cool or trendy, like you know what you're talking about. The ship.
It's all right till somebody asks you a question and you get caught out about it.
Yeah, just get yourself on the chase and that one comes up. You can imagine. I thought you knew that one. Oh, forgot it.
Yeah.
The shape of the space station is reference to a clock face. Time is obviously all over this, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much do you reckon this cost per minute?
What, to produce this film?
Well, yeah, each minute of screen time.
Oh, that's a very good question. $1 million. No, $2 million.
No, you're not far right. It's £976,000 per second.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's still a commercial success, though. It's still near a return.
Yeah, nearly half a billion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of money.
So somebody went to see it and then brought the DVD and what have you afterwards. What do you think to the design of the space station? I quite like the fact that it's sort of cylindrical, like a tube, and on the inside you can see. I think there's a bit where doesn't Cooper look out the window on a baseball match and someone hits the ball and it goes up in the air and then goes through the window of a sort of house that's on the roof, effectively.
Well, I think the design makes sense, I guess, for gravity in space. It's the way it's designed, isn't it? Obviously, as people often forget, we can't sort of walk about like that in space. But yeah, I think the design makes sense.
Wouldn't that freak you out, though, on a physiological or even psychological level? That you and me are used to looking up to the sky and seeing it's either blue or cloud or what have you up there, a familiar palette of nothing above us, and you look up, or if you do look up and see something above you, your initial thought to your head is that going to fall on me, which is perfectly normal, fight or flight. It's instinctive to think that. You look up and there's an entire row of houses and a cul-de-sac up there. That would freak me out a bit. Well, I'd get the impression that I was upside down falling towards it or something.
I think that is probably a hit you would have to take, to survive. And yeah, I think it would take a generation or so to get used to it. But
would there ever really be a horizon in front of you, or would you always be looking at a slight curvature?
Yeah, always at a curvature, I think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
But to have that, the greenness of vegetation and things like that, I think people would give up a lot to see that, wouldn't they?
Oh, yeah, of course I would, but I'd be used to looking at ground level and seeing that, not looking up at the sky and seeing it.
I can just imagine that Grandad still has problems looking up at the field and the ceiling.
Well, he'd be fine. He's on his allotment upside down above you somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Growing his turnips.
What
if he drops one, would it go up in the air or will it fall to his feet?
Yeah, or would it just stay in the middle, going neither up nor down?
There must be a point halfway between the two where the forces cancel each other out and sort of an object would become inanimate, effectively neutrally buoyant, wouldn't there?
I would have thought so, yeah. That was my first instinct, yeah.
Yeah.
But I only brought it up when you said about the turds. Maybe science should be working more on toilet humour. We would probably get further.
I said growing his turnips, not growing his turds.
Oh, sorry, mate.
He was on the allotment, remember?
Oh, yeah.
But no, that's actually a good practical problem now you've raised that. I hadn't thought of that either.
Would you raise it or drop it? I don't know.
I don't know. It's going one way. Is it going down the pipe or up it?
Yeah, interesting. This was the most pirated film of 2015, despite being released in 2014. So, interesting. Why would you pirate a film so long?
There's quite an effort to pirate it, isn't it?
Yeah. What else? References we talked about, I think. 2001, Solaris, a film called The Mirror, Capricorn 1, Reds, the interviews for the Reds, Aliens, it says, The Stasis Sleep, but I think a lot of films have done it before. Contact, which also had Matthew McConaughey, and as we alluded to, the description of space-time with a folded paper is Event Horizon. So, yeah, but that's Interstellar. I mean, it's the time normally when we have to give it a mark out of 10, I think, Dave.
Yeah, I don't really think we can talk about the film much more. I think we've kind of gone over it and covered what we can about it. A mark out of 10? Good. Now, that is a very good question, and I hadn't really considered my answer, to be honest.
I'm going to say 8.
Really?
I am going to say 8, because a film should move you emotionally, I think, and this certainly did.
Uh-huh.
And it moved me enough to be a memorable film. So.
And the credibility of the science that it's an intelligent film.
Yeah.
It attempts to be intelligent. You know what? I'm going to give it a fraction more as a full package, because like I've already expressed that I really do like the score, and I think the score works emotionally well with the film. I think the film is beautifully shot. It does move me emotionally in different directions. I am going to give it a 9, right?
Yeah.
There's only 2 reasons why I wouldn't upgrade that 9 to a 10.
Is one of them Matt and the other one Damon?
Well, I was going to count that as one, but you're on the right track.
Okay.
The other one is the running length.
Yeah.
You know, you would not, when this came out, want to go into a cinema with a big old styrofoam bucket of coffee with you, because with no way that's going to stay within your system for the duration of this film. I think there's a bit of personal time dilation with this film. I think you sit in the cinema for 2.5 hours, come out and find that 23 years have passed. I think it is too long. I think for it's not a bite-sized film. It's not a light film, and I do realise it's got to have a duration to it to tell that story and for you to invest in that story. But I think it is perhaps a little bit too epic.
I think in countries like the Netherlands, they have an interval in between. So you probably need a half-day holiday to go and watch this one in Holland. So.
So you can go outside for like 10 minutes and stretch your legs?
Yeah, definitely.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's like I said, the only 2 reasons that are stopping it from getting a 10 is Matt Damon and the duration and length of the film. If it wasn't for those, I'd be happy to give it a 10, but as it is, I'm going to sit with 9. That's not saying that the quality isn't there in the film, which is that I think that those 2 elements. Although I'll upgrade it to 9.5, because they did make a sort of act of contrition and attempt to redeeming themselves by killing Matt Damon's character. Yeah, 9.5.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, shall we get on to some craziness around here?
Let's do it.
Okay, local news from the Eddie Standard website, dated the 25th of January via their correspondent, our old friend who always pops up, John Elworthy. He's popping up in more stuff than John Williams has done sound scores for, isn't he?
Yeah, John Elworthy. I don't know, this guy, he's... I reckon he's out there making local news, because there's not a lot happening this time of year. I think
Scooby-Doo's going to unmask John Elworthy as the fiend behind a lot of the stories that we talk about. You know, he's like the sheriff or the caretaker or the headmaster.
Or Will Law under a mask.
Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? He's been quiet lately.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't have this section really without John Elworthy, so I suppose we should be thankful to him. Driver escapes unhurt after his lorry containing 1,000 bags of potatoes overturns, blocking the A10 for 6 hours. An overturned lorry closed the A10 from 5 a.m. yesterday for 6 hours. This is obviously past. This is on the 25th of January, so this would be the 24th of January when this happened. The wagon was carrying a substantial load of potatoes, but unfortunately came off the highway at a bend in the road between Streatham and Chittering. A police spokesman said, thankfully the driver of the vehicle has walked away uninjured and no other vehicles were involved. The incident has caused a considerable amount of disruption to local traffic, but this being said, we can all be grateful that, other than the vehicle itself, no other damage or injury has been caused. The A10 reopened at approximately 1 p.m, so obviously for commuters going to Cambridge in the morning, it wasn't the best thing at rush hour, because it kind of covered that entire span. The overturned lorry was carrying 1,000 bags of potatoes, led to both lanes of the A10 at Streatham being closed. A police spokesman said, "We were called at about 4:05 a.m. this morning, Tuesday, with reports of an overturned lorry carrying potatoes on the A10 at Streatham near Ely. It looks like the lorry has jackknifed and is partially in a field blocking both lanes. The road has been closed from the Lazy Otter Junction and is likely to remain closed until midday. About 1,000 bags of potatoes need to be moved before the vehicle recovery can take place. It is believed that the vehicle owner and other employees have turned up to assist with moving the potatoes. I think it was just people sat in their cars that were bored and figured think a mother and went out there and started filling the boots up.
Well, Dave, when the chips are down.
Oh, they would be pre-mashed for you, wouldn't they?
They would. They sound appealing.
I mean, it's like that roundabout that's up near the Meeple Outdoor Centre. I mean, obviously there's a lot of agricultural traffic that uses that, and there's always tractors going over on that roundabout, you know. Mm-hmm. You get these fast-track tractors these days, they're capable of doing 50 miles an hour plus in some cases, although not the ones I follow. For some reason, they seem to be restricted. And they're always coming off on that roundabout or toppling on that roundabout. You know, they've got a high-tail trailer on the back. They've got a high load on it. Take the corner too quickly, inevitable consequences. And there's always big old piles of potatoes, carrots, onions. You could get a Sunday dinner off that roundabout if you went scrounging for it.
Well, that's true, Dave. I think for like homeless people and that, you can imagine just bagging up all the spare veg that we find around this area and the roadkill as well. You could have a feast, couldn't you?
You make it sound like grab a grand, put them in a tube and drop a load of spilled turnips on top of them and see how many they can get in a minute.
Scrumping for dead pheasants.
Oh, there's a game show we've got to make.
We're becoming more like bloody Alan Partridge every episode. You know, different ideas for game shows.
Yeah, so that's that one. That we've got an Arctic lorry, like I said, blocked the A10 with equivalent of 1,000 bags worth of potatoes all over the place. You know, it's like Spuddergeddon all over the road in the field. Lazy Otter all bouncing about.
Rowdy Maris Piper.
And you do have to wonder if, like, the people that are stuck in cars thought, "Oh, sod this, I've got to do something with me time," and went out and, you know, helped themselves, cook a jacket on the heat of your bonnet or what have you. Okay, the next one is also about produce getting distributed around East Anglia accidentally. Slightly different tale though. This one's from the ITV News website. No John L. Worthy to thank here. Dated 13th of February, so this is the day before Valentine's Day, and this is via their reporter Natalie Gray. £50 million worth of cocaine found on Norfolk beaches.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you heard of this one?
I have, I saw it actually, yeah.
Yeah, around £50 million worth of cocaine has been found washed up on 2 Norfolk beaches. Holdalls of the drug were first discovered by a woman walking her dog on Hopton Beach, just south of Great Yarmouth, on Wednesday afternoon. Parcels were also found at Caister, and Suffolk Police confirmed more's been found at Kessingland in Suffolk. The National Crime Agency, NCA, says the amount so far seized is around 360 kilograms. That's a lot of bags of sugar.
It is, yeah.
I mean, I guess some of that weight would be water, but the Home Office says its intelligence-led approach against drug smugglers is working. Last year, 2 men were found guilty after Border Force acted on intelligence and seized more than £500 million worth of cocaine. I've got here in quotations. We not only work extremely closely with domestic partners like the NCA, but also international counterparts to share intelligence and target our operations accordingly. While Border Force use a combination of cutters, patrol vessels and cutting-edge technology to secure our coastline, we also encourage members of the public to report suspicious activity, quoted a Home Office spokesperson. It says new coastal patrol vessels have been launched to support cutters in UK waters, and more are due to enter service this year. Members of the public can report suspicious activity around the coast to the local police on 101. Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111, quoting Project Kraken. There you go.
Kraken. Great.
Yeah. Cocaine on Norfolk beaches. What do we think? I mean, the way they're hyping this up makes it sound like an NCA or police or customs success. And basically, I think it's, you know, a ship's gotten wrecked and it had to be washed up somewhere. It's like whiskey galore, but with cocaine.
Yeah, it is a modern whiskey galore. Yeah, you're right, Dave. I think, as you said, this one seems to have just washed right up onto their desks. It has, hasn't it? You know, they haven't even had to go out and sort of find anything. I see some great pictures.
Yeah, but the way they're hyping up it, it's just as if it's their own, you know, achievement.
Yeah.
Like we've turned the tide on drug smuggling.
Oh, And it's probably like dolphins probably helped them out and brought it to the land or something like that, you know, or some grey seals or something like that. You know?
Well, some of them did. Some of them are probably out there snorting it up right now.
Oh, I tell you what, Dave, I saw a photo this week with a guy with a rolled up sort of big tube, and it's just the surf, you know, that's crashed along the coast, and there's like some white sort of foam all the way along, and he's standing there with like a rolled up newspaper making out it's the cocaine that's washed up on the beach, where obviously it isn't, but you know, it just shows you how quickly the humour, you know, people just realise what they could do, so it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose washed up cocaine. I mean, if you're not a criminal person, I don't know if you'd know how to get rid of it or something. You might as well report it to the police and let one of them have a pay rise out of it, I guess.
Yeah, probably, or you know, take it home and use it in grandma's coffee or something like that.
Keep her quiet.
Keep her quiet. Keep her happy. You know.
Yeah, well,
that new sweetener or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, Canderel. Rich man's Canderel.
I was trying to think of a sweetener. I couldn't think of any other famous ones.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be any good. I mean, if it's in holdall packages, I don't know they're necessarily what. But it sounds to me like this was perhaps in the hold of a fishing boat or something like that coming across.
Yeah.
Or even just out in the North Sea. And I mean, it could have been at sea for quite a while before it washed ashore, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Tides would have brought, I guess, most of it in together. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand coastal dynamics and tides fully, so I'm only kind of speculating there.
You don't understand the buoyancy of cocaine either, so I mean, you don't know how does it float, you know?
Well, obviously it must do. It came ashore.
Exactly.
But would it be any good as a addictive drug if it's been saturated by seawater? Or I don't know if it'd even have any value. No. You know, perhaps some cutter or something, or a trawler or something was carting this stuff, and they were due to get boarded, or they got jittery, or they're in stormy weather, and they thought, sod this, and it all went overboard.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I've not heard of any ships being wrecked or fouled at sea, have you?
No, I haven't. No, it's almost like going down to Plymouth or somewhere and finding gold coins. You know, it's kind of like that, isn't it? It's just appeared.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there a thing somewhere in the Pacific where a Chinese container ship or a cargo ship, it was out in the mid-Pacific, and it hit a tropical storm or something, and it basically wrecked this ship and sunk this ship. And this cargo ship had a whole cargo hold full of plastic rubber ducks that were manufactured in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
and it was bringing them across the Pacific to the Americas or something, and it was halfway across when it hit. So of course these things are all sealed and they all floated. So apparently there was like literally over 1 million of these yellow rubber ducks bobbing about on the Pacific Ocean for like a decade.
Yeah.
And then when they all started to come ashore in places like Australia and New Zealand and Papua New Guinea and that, they all started to come to shore in that sort of area. They were all coming in together. So like people were like going down to the beach one day and the beach was completely clear. They would come down the next day and there'd be like 500 plastic bath ducks all washed up on the beach. And it makes me wonder if this all came in together.
Yeah, it probably did. I mean, I don't know, mate. I don't know. And how do they police it? How do they stop people sort of, as you say, taking their own a couple of kilos of cocaine home? How do you stop people doing that, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had to get the same team out that cleaned the spuds off the A10 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I've got on local news, mate. I don't know what you've got.
Well, I've just got something from the Cambridge News, which appeared, let's have a look, by Raymond Brown on the 5th of February, so just after our last episode. It was about dogging hotspots in Cambridge. So
that one that just appeared.
Yeah, interesting to find it in the Cambridge News, but the locations used for sex in the Cambridge area have been revealed, and amid warnings about police patrolling the areas. I bet they are. The practice known as dogging involves people performing sex acts in cars or in secluded spots while others watch.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Okay, I'll just read what they say. There's a bit, it goes down different areas, Cambridge, Gogmagog's, different places around the area, and you'll probably guess at least one of the hotspots in Ely.
Uh-huh.
Go on, have a go.
Roswell Pits.
Exactly. And the other one that did surprise me was Ely Paradise Swimming Pool Sports Centre Car Park. Now, I didn't know that because that is quite central, isn't it? You know, Roswell Pits, you know, a bit...
It's not just that it's kind of central town, but it's socially central.
Yeah.
It's got the sports centre where people are in and out during the evenings behind it. It's a bit of a cut through from people coming from sort of Deacon's Lane area into town. They'll come across the field and walk across that car park.
Yeah.
It's out the back of the High Flyer. It's not that far from Dean's. It's not that far from Oakland's Chippy. It's in a part of it. It's an actual car park, as you say. So it's a part of Ely that actually is quite active in the evening. And I thought this sort of practice always went on in places that are secluded.
Yeah, like down near the sewage works, there, near the river.
Yeah, that was for a long time, but I don't think it is anymore.
No.
It sounds like they've all moved on to Roswell Pits now.
Yeah, they put cameras up down there, so...
What, Roswell Pits?
No, down that little railway bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, near Sainsbury's car park at the back of there, isn't it?
Yeah.
The newspaper report also says those who take part claim the activity falls through a legal loophole because it's not an offence to have sex in public unless it causes outrage to a witness. That's no magic tree. I just see that. Well, there we go.
Oh dear. I know the spot in Littleport used to be down that old abandoned vegetable packing plant. Do you know where I'm talking about?
No.
I don't know the exact place. Oh, its name or the road it's on. You can see it from the A10. And it's because it used to be an old vegetable packing plant. I don't think it is anymore. And I don't think the night I kind of accidentally observed it being...
There we go.
No, there's a story to this.
All
We'll
right.
get this. Accidentally observed it being used as such, which was either 1991 or 1992. I don't think it was an operational packing plant then, but the infrastructure was still there. It was a bit like the rundown industrial area at the end of RoboCop or something, you know.
Yeah.
It still had a yard. It still had a perfectly good access road that you could drive in and out of the place on, and I think it was secluded. Generally sheltered all round, although you could view part of it from the A10, which is where my story and my connection to this comes in. And it was at that time, and I assume it possibly still is, and has been in intervening years, been the local dogging spot for Littleport. Now, the story, I didn't realise this until the early 90s, and I accidentally came across it. Now, the story behind this is another myself and Justin tale, as many so often are. At the time, we had little 50cc moped type things, like little Suzuki sort of 50s, you know, 50cc's, sort of built in the 70s, pale blue, twist and go, maximum speed, 35 miles an hour downhill with a tailwind kind of thing. But they got us about, you know, I got over Littleport and we sort of used to, you know, thrash around the village and down the droves and stuff. And then they were good fun, yeah? And they were our primary means of transport at that time. Not quite old enough to drive, but old enough you want to get out and about and have a bit of independence. And we were thrashing around Littleport at night time on these things. Justin's was, you know, he was more advanced than mine. His had 3 gears that you operated itself and it could reach nearly 40 miles an hour. So he had I had the starter model, which could do 35 with prayer and a tailwind. He had the slightly more upmarket one, yeah? So Justin would typically lead and I would sort of follow, I don't know, 40, 50 feet behind Justin. And we were thrashing around Littleport at night. It was quite a cold night. It'd be sort of this time of year, roughly. It'd be about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. It was pitch black and we were thrashing around Littleport and we went down towards the A10 from sort of Wisbeach Roadway, yeah? Got onto the A10 at the roundabout or the junction or whatever. Turn left. So we're then heading towards Ely down the A10, yeah, in the dark on these 2 mopeds. And at this stage, the old packing plant is out to your left-hand side as you're going down there. You'll be keeping an eye out for it now next time.
Yeah, I will, yeah.
Way. And it was a windy night. It was a cold night. Like, so we're on mopeds. Justin's out in front of me. So communication really is dictated to sort of muffled shouts that you can't really understand anyway, or a sort of bizarre form of hand signalling. And we never did quite get the hang of this. We're going down there. Justin is just idly out in front. I've obviously got to pay a bit more attention because I'm following Justin and I don't want to collide with him. Justin's sort of looking from side to side. I notice he looks over to his left. At something kills his attraction for a while. And then he looks forward again just to make sure he sees where he's going. His head then turns right round like the little kid does out of The Exorcist or something, so that he can see me. He doesn't bother stopping. He's still going forward at nearly 40 miles an hour on his moped, not looking where he's going because he's looking directly behind him at me, following him. and he shouts something. Well, like I said, it's windy, we're on mopeds, noise, out in the open. I can't interpret what he says. All I kind of get is his muffled coming through to me. I haven't got a clue what he's actually said.
It sounds like Chewbacca.
So, yeah. So I sort of shouted something back to him, which obviously he didn't have a clue what I said, and sort of gestured, open hands, you what kind of thing.
Yeah.
He looks out to the side again, his head twists right round again, looks at me, shouts something again. So I shouted something back, gestured, I can't understand you. This is why we're still going in single file down the A10, 35, 40 miles an hour. He gets the idea that I can't understand what he's on about. So then he starts pointing out to his left, takes one hand off the handlebars and pointing out to his left from out in front of me, as if to point something out in the field that he was trying to get my attention about. So I look over, and that's to this location where this yard is, and I can see a car parked up in the distance with the overhead parcel lamp light on to light up the interior of the car, and there's this big hairy fat geezer on top of it with a pair of big fat old legs wrapped around his back, Yeah. And he's hammering away like a good one on top of this old woman. 16, 17 years old. I hadn't really seen anything like that before in my life. It was just something you joked about or happened to other people. So I'm looking over, cracking up and looking at it. This is whilst we're still both moving forward on mopeds down the bypass. Safety, not really. I'm looking over, transfixed by this, cracking up. Meanwhile, Justin's in front of me, thinking that I still haven't seen what he's trying to point out to me on the side of the road, which is this couple at it in the car.
Yeah.
So Justin decides to stop so that I stop behind him, and he actually takes his helmet off to physically tell me, look, over there's a couple at it in a car. He stops, but because I'm transfixed by events in this car in this yard, I don't realise he stopped because my head's still craned over to the left instead of looking at what's in front of me, which is Justin, which is stopped. And I smashed straight into the back of his moped.
Oh, no.
That's the story behind the Little Pot spot on how I discovered it.
There you go.
If it still uses one today or not, I don't know.
Were you injured?
No, fine.
No.
I just ended up laughing. We both went flying. Yeah, you don't smack into something at 30 miles an hour. It's got a bit of kinetic energy. Yeah. So, yeah, we both ended up on our ass and bikes all over the place and stuff. Still all worked and got up and laughed about it. Just imagine this couple at it in his car, and then all of a sudden, from a few hundred yards away, this almighty crash and these couple of idiots cracking up.
Do you think they stopped, or or they were a bit disturbed about what happened outside?
I don't know. I think perhaps they decided to go down Roswell Pits next time.
Safe spot, and it's getting milder, isn't it? So you never know.
Yeah. Well, the summer comes along. Any other sort of dogging news or local news?
No dogging news, but local news. I mean, something you brought up, Dave. I think it's the June the 17th. There's a science festival taking place.
Oh, yeah, that looks really good.
It does, and we've got quite a lot going on at Ely Cathedral, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what is it, an outdoor concert with sci-fi elements? So,
this might be one for Dean Shepherd. He might enjoy that.
Yeah, musically, yeah. So,
yeah, I think it's got rendition. It's got an orchestra and a choir and stuff, and I think they're going to be doing some sort of typical classical themes like hosts the planets and stuff like that, Jupiter and all the rest. But I also think there's going to have they're going to be playing stuff like Star Wars scores and some of the music from 2001 and all these kinds of classic science fiction movies. I think they've also got a kind of retro B-movie thing on when they're showing a couple of B-movies. I think that were made as early as the 1920s. I mean, we're talking about the time of silent cinema here, aren't we?
Yeah, was the French guy, Georges Méliès?
I don't know.
Yeah, he done the classic film with the can that hits the moon in the face.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, so, and they're gonna do it with a classical sort of organ, aren't they? Like the old cinema days. Yeah, so it might be worth having a look down, especially in June. Yeah, hopefully it'll be quite a mild evening.
Yeah, I mean, I might go to a few events there. There's quite a few different ticketed events on the leaflets I've got. Yeah, it looks like they've got some good stuff on the go there.
And the other guy, he's speaking in the cathedral. Is it Lord Robert Winston? He's artist, isn't he?
Yeah, do you know it's about 10 grand to get him to speak at an event?
Is it?
Yeah, it'd be cheaper to get Matt Damon or something.
No, he'll only die. You know that. Yeah. Coming in Ely, that'd be a good film.
I mean, yeah, I know he's obviously a reputable man and he's achieved a lot and an expert in his fields, but come on, just write it on a piece of paper. I could read that. I'd do it every 2 weeks.
You could do it via Skype, straight to a big screen in a cathedral. No one would know, would they?
Live link up, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, there does look some pretty good stuff on that. So yeah, I mean, I might have to pick and choose a few events and go down there and have a look, I think.
Are you talking about Roswell or the cathedral?
Oh, both.
Well, we'll get those links up for Ely Cathedral and the events.
What about Roswell Pits?
Well, I think
was that the same dogging article when there's like a website or something which lists them all?
Yeah, it's on the Cambridge News, 4th of February or 5th of February. So if you have a look online, you'll be able to find it.
Is that the article where it had a link in it, where it went through to an official sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, a dogging community page?
Yeah, dogging club. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
But you can actually review the sites.
Well, police were trying to cut down on dogging, but they couldn't find any leads. Anyway, yeah, we'll get those links up for the cathedral things as soon as possible to give people a chance to plan their summer if they want to know outside the cathedral.
Something you can organise more on social media as opposed to sort of metadata links.
Yeah.
Whether we podcast about that or not coming up and the experiences of that, I don't know. Perhaps we should do. I mean, I know you've been keen to get Dean involved with the show somehow on that musical front. Perhaps this would be an ideal opening to do that.
Yeah, we'll have a word with him.
I mean, you know Dean, I don't personally know him. I only sort of know him through the podcast, but perhaps we should approach him about it. He seems like a very knowledgeable guy on sort of the subject of music and scores and stuff. So, yeah. Obviously, we've got your interview, if you can get it, with the lady from Liverpool, the comic shop store opener. Lucy, what's her name again? I've got it written down in front of me here.
Lucy.
Is it Lucy Myers? Lucy what?
I said Myers, but I've got Mike Myers on my brain from what you said earlier.
It doesn't happen. Lucy Meyer, owner of the Level Up comic store in Liverpool. Obviously, if you can get that, we've got that coming up.
Well, I've got some other exciting news that since we've been doing the podcast right now. Do you remember the guy Sean Boo who did the Darth Maul film that was on YouTube?
Is this something that's coming in live, like Stephen Martin was earlier?
Yeah, exactly. I've got my laptop because me and Dave aren't in the same room now, so you can sort of have it on at the same time. And this guy Sean Boo who created that. He said, one of my former students, she knows him personally in Germany. And this guy created this phenomenon. You know, he'd done it on a budget, but he looked very good. I asked him a long time ago, could we interview him? And at that time, they were riding a crest of a Norfolk wave, and they didn't need any other representation online, I guess. But I spoke to
Now it's getting a bit. Now they're on hard times. Yeah. And they're prepared to scrape the toilet and come back to us. Is this what you're trying to say?
Yeah, they're walking in a dust bowl looking for some corn, and. Yeah, I've got this. It would be a pleasure.
So they've gone from cocaine on the coast to potatoes on the A10.
Exactly. And he said it would be a pleasure to interview you, have an interview with you. If you were interested, let me know as soon as possible. So hopefully by the next episode, we'll have a little bit of a snippet of an interview with Sean Boo, maybe finding out what his latest project is and how he feels about the recent Star Wars film, something like that.
And how far he was able to take that project. I mean, it was very accomplished and very well made.
Yeah, exactly. And is he going to be popping up in a Hollywood production anytime soon? Or maybe directing an episode of Rebels or something like that? So.
Yeah, and like we've said, possibly an interview with Lucy Meyer. I mean, I leave that in your capable hands. That would kind of be your project while I focus on the Richard Hatch things. But it'll all be under the Hot Wampa banner when we release this stuff.
You kind of like the Avengers, really. We go off in our own different directions, and then
spin-off movies.
Yeah, and when it's a big crisis, we come back together and take on the world. So
Hot Wampa itself is like Disney. That's just the label it all goes out under, and they all integrate into each other.
Mouse, Dave.
Yeah. So yeah, we have got other stuff we're hoping to get out to people prior to us meeting in a fortnight to record again. Like I said, if you get that stuff and get it back to us, mate, and I'll get it in the feed if you want.
Will do, Dave.
Yeah. Also, I think in a fortnight we've already pre-picked the showcase topic, which of course is Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't it?
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy.
Oh, I don't know. I get confused with all of them. What's the difference between that and Guardians of the Guardians? What's the difference between that and Guardians of the Galaxy?
Guardians of the Galaxy, take your pick. Guardians of the Galaxy, was the Marvel ensemble. Galaxy Quest is the Alan Rickman, Sigourney Weaver, Tim Allen sort of parody on Star Trek, which is quite fun, and it sort of makes fun warmly of the comic book conferences, things like that. So something that we've both experienced. So I think it's a fun film.
Have you got a rocking chair or something creaking away there?
I'm going from left to right. I think it's the only thing that's keeping me standing up. So,
A bit the old arthritis or something, the old joints, I think.
No, I just need the toilet. I had a big carton of coffee.
Yeah, so whatever one that is, we'll be doing that in a fortnight. But like I said, hopefully we'll have other stuff between then and now turning up in the Hot Wampa podcast feed. So we've got quite a busy time coming up. We've had good downloads as well for January and February. And considering, we've only really released one episode in both so far. I think we've probably had a few new listeners come by us, whether that's because we focused on Carrie Fisher and people were perhaps looking for tributes, and also the last episode as well, the last standard episode as well that we've done it would seem quite well received. So we've had a little bit of gain. But keep those reviews coming in, like Stephen Martin did on iTunes and Stitches, wherever you get your podcasts. Please continue to share our links about. It means a lot to us. You don't never need to say thank you to us, but helping us to grow the show, which is what we've found is the most difficult part. Anything like that, we really do appreciate. We don't quite know where we are with the Star Wars Podcasting Awards, but I think nothing has been said on that yet.
I hate to tell you this, Dave, but I've got a nice little gong on my desk here at home. I forgot to mention it.
Oh, you decided to go and claim it for both of us.
No, but you're absolutely right. We haven't heard anything back yet. So, that's never a bad thing, is it? No news is good news. I
don't think they've announced anything yet because, I've been hanging around in a lot of the old podcaster forums. They're like the Mos Eisley Cantina now. I thought, that's where I seem to spend my social life in podcasting forums.
Scum and villainy.
Yeah. We must be cautious. And there's nobody in there saying, oh, well done, so-and-so's been nominated or so-and-so's been nominated. And I think it's one of them sort of topics that they're all a bit too scared to go first on it. So I don't think anyone's been nominated yet, to be honest with you.
Great.
So I think it's perhaps all our names are still in a hat. Will we get drawn up? Well, in a vote count or what have you. Will we get drawn out? Who knows? So we don't know where we are with that. But again, thank you to anyone that did nominate us. That's about it, really.
Yeah, talking of drawn out, this has been a long episode, isn't it? We've done pretty well.
Well, we think we knew it was going to be with Interstellar, which is why we dropped tribute to Richard Hatch from this, because if we've got to put tribute to Richard Hatch out, I think we'd want to do it properly and not try to just fit it in a couple of minutes of a reading on here. And like I said, I have got plans to release a couple of specials in the near future dedicated to Richard. So our listeners will get a tribute to him. They're just going to have to wait a little while, but hopefully when we do, we'll be able to get a good tribute out to him.
Right, and obviously to all our listeners, like Dave said, we appreciate any feedback or input for the next episode, which is going to be Galaxy Quest. So if you have
Guardians of the Galaxy Quest.
Guardians of the Galaxy Quest. So if you have any reviews, feedback, or you've got a couple of weeks to go and watch the film, find it on Amazon or Netflix, or it might even pop up on television. If it does, I'll put the link to which channel it is on the Facebook and Twitter feed. So
yeah, you never know, do you?
You never know.
Okay, so we'll see you in a fortnight. Take care, really.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.